Hey, y'all like polka? I like polka. I think polka's cool. My favorite polka is the Pennsylvania polka, and it's because the Pennsylvania polka is by a scam artist, and I respect that a lot. Hi, everybody. It's me, Alex. Hello, hello. Let's see. Before I get started, I gotta thank some folks for subscribing. Thank you, Neo Zero, for the 5-month resub. Thank you. Itinerant Soldier with a 5-month resub as well. Secret code, Gay Rat. Thank you. Yeah, and we're gonna go through more interactive entertainment today. I figured new month, new issue. This one's gonna be kind of cool because it's actually got an interview with Roberta Williams in it, and I like polka dots too. As you can tell, I'm kind of got a lot of polka dots behind me. It's a very I'm going with the dot aesthetic. I think that's the new aesthetic in the future. It's going to be dots. We're going to be a dot centric people. And yeah, let's see here. Let's get started. I think you're going to really like the the skin I used, the Windows theme I used for this one. Let's go. You're not going to believe it. Oh, did it? Oh no, the music didn't play. Okay, I have to restart. No. We got to restart this since it broke anyway. I got it. Hold on. No. No. You got to hear the music. It's so good. I can't believe that the Explorer broke. It was working literally 2 minutes before the stream, and then all of a sudden it's like, meow, sorry. Looks like your Explorer's not gonna work. Sorry about that. That's the voice that Retro Arch makes. Uh-huh. Windows 98. Hi, Nello. It's working.
The 21st century, mankind has colonized the last unexplored region on Earth, the ocean. As captain of the Sequest and its crew, we are its guardians. For beneath the surface lies the future.
All right, you heard how to hear the Sequest intro, and yeah. All right, we're doing interactive entertainment 03. Well, it's used to have Sequest related videos. As you can see, I just used an old install and was like, yeah, I'll throw interactive entertainment on this. I'm doing good today. I'm drinking oh, hold on, I gotta let this guy talk. He's got a lot to say.
Forget reading. You've just entered the world of true multimedia. This is the future. This is interactive entertainment.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's a picture of Dennis Miller there. So, but yeah, I'm doing good. I'm drinking okay, I know it's kind of gross to a lot of people, but I really do like drinking Ollipops because like halfway through I'm like, this is garbage, and then afterwards I'm like, wow, my back feels better. I don't know what it is, but something about those prebiotic fibers make me feel good. So yeah, you know what, let's just start. Forget reading, forget everything, let's go to the news. What's going on?
CD upgrades just out or coming soon include Privateer from Origin, Alone in the Dark 2 from iMotion, and Command Adventures Starship from Merit Software. Privateer CD features the game plus the speech pack. Alone in the Dark 2 includes digitized speech as well as additional camera angles and gameplay. Finally, Starship includes the 2.0 upgrade to the game's software, which fixes a number of complaints with the interface, and also features a campaign-style series of missions tied together by a storyline written by Privateer author Gilbert Austin.
I'm drinking the cream soda Olipop because I've tried a lot of the other flavors, and this is why Olipop will never sponsor me. The only flavor I like is the cream one. Although I did have the banana cream one, and it was so banana-y, I just could not stand it. It really did taste like a mushy banana, and I was like, on one hand, good on you for being able to emulate this flavor. On the other hand, this is not a flavor I want in liquid form. But you know what I do want to go? Beyond Doom.
If you're wondering what comes after Doom 2,
Yeah.
rumor has it that id Software's next opus is in the conceptual stages. Tentatively called Quake, the new engine will be a true 6D engine, allowing you to look up,
Quake.
down and around corners, and jump and crouch. According to Jay Wilbur, business manager of id Software, Quake will be released sometime before the end of time, possibly in 1995.
Clip it. I bet I get all of my weird sodas from H-E-B. They have like a health food aisle, and they have a section that's just weird stuff in a can, and I'm always buying them. Like kombucha and tea, and tea's not that weird, but like all kinds of stuff. I love weird canned stuff. As long as it's not slimy. I don't know.
Coming from Origin later this summer will be Lost Veil,
Hey!
an add-in module for their popular new RPG, Ultimate
What the
8 Pagan.
fuck?
In the fall, look for the enhanced CD version
Are we going to
of
talk
Pagan,
about this?
which will run directly off the CD and include both the speech pack and Lost Veil.
Him head
In
gone.
the Distant Rumblings department, plans seem to be underway for Privateer 2. Details are sketchy, but the latest gossip is that the person responsible for the project is none other than Chris Roberts' brother. More on that as more info becomes available. Capstone has announced that Corridor 7, its action thriller utilizing an enhanced version of the Wolfenstein 3D engine, will be released on
Nest
CD
Wyoming,
ROM.
thank you for the 5-month
Version of the game will
resub.
feature
Thank you.
IPX network support for 12 players,
Appreciate
as
that.
well as additional levels, weapons, and enemies.
Do not get
Capstone
invaded by
plans
the
2 more
aliens in
CD
the
titles
corridor.
In the immediate future, Body Count, an action game with a counter-terrorist theme, and Zorro, based on the legendary hero.
Yeah,
Body Count and
Wolfenstein.
Zorro are slated for fall release.
Fox goes interactive.
20th Century Fox has joined media conglomerates such as Time Warner and Paramount on the interactive bandwagon. Its interactive division, appropriately titled Fox Interactive, will unveil its first 2 cartridge titles at the summer CES. These are The Tick, based on the Fox animated superhero parody series, and The Pagemaster, which will be released in the fall simultaneously with the theatrical motion picture on which it's based.
Wasn't the Tick video game bad? Am I right on that? I know there's a lot of opinions on the Tick. It was okay. It was bad.
The Bruce Artwick
what I
Organization,
thought.
or BAO, developers of Microsoft Flight Simulator, will be supporting
It's a
Flight
macaw
Sim
game?
through
Okay.
retail channels under the BAO Simulation Products label. In addition to scenery discs encompassing such diverse areas as Washington, D.C. and Las Vegas, BSP will release 2 flight simutilities, Flight Simulator Flight Shop and Tower
It's a
Controller
Dino
by
game?
the third
Okay, that does
quarter
make
of
sense.
1994.
Real Jaguar?
Atari and Sigma Designs have entered into an exclusive licensing
Cube.
agreement wherein Sigma will incorporate Atari's 64-bit Jaguar technology into a PC card along with Sigma's Real Magic
Played it for
MPEG
7
technology.
hours.
The card
No.
should be available by year's end, allowing an estimated 10 million MPC owners to play Jaguar titles on their IBM PCs.
Okay. Did that ever come out? Was there ever a module that came out for Jaguar on PC? I'm gonna go with no. I don't think that ever came out. Unless I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong on that. Strange. Okay, next up, Windoom.
As a testimonial to the quality of the WinG development library discussed last month on IE, id Software has ported its smash bestseller Doom to Windows. Really? According to programmer John Carmack, the port took 2 days using a beta version of the WinG library. Allegedly, WinDoom runs at speeds comparable to the DOS version. Id plans to have a commercial version of WinDoom available by Christmas. Rumors to the effect that it will be titled Microsoft Windows Entertainment Pack 6 have been thoroughly quashed.
Well, you can play Doom on Windows now. Let's go to the table of contents on the cover. Yeah, we'll do all of those back. Let's go to the table of contents. First, this is exciting. This is an interview with Roberta Williams.
Well, King's Quest is an adventure game, and it is also
Ma'am?
So from that standpoint, it isn't really differing.
Hold on.
from its genre. How it does differ, though, is that it is a very family-oriented game. It's probably one of the few family-oriented adventure games in the market. It's very cute, it's lovable, it's beautiful animation, it's got a lovely, wonderful story, heartwarming for the family.
I have boosted the audio by 20
I
decibels.
would like
I'm
to
not
be able
kidding.
to do just really excellent animation. I would like to be able to do more camera angles again, more flying cameras if I could. But again, we're somewhat limited by the technology. I would think that King's Quest VIII will be somewhere in my future. There's always Laraboe, the continuation of the Laraboe series. There's always a possibility of another horror game, but it hasn't been determined yet. Phantasmagoria is for the horror fans, for people that like Stephen King, Alfred Hitchcock type of movies or stories. It is very cinematic. It's somewhat movie-like, but it is also a game. It's a very visual, interactive storytelling experience. Phantasmagoria differs from others in its genre, meaning adventure games, in that it is a little more story-like. It is more cinematic. It is more like a movie in that we use a lot of cinematic effects and camera angles. But it, like others in its genre, it does have inventory objects you can solve puzzles, you can explore your environment. It is horror, so it does have that aspect to it, a serious aspect. Whoa, I think Phantasmagoria I'm actually working with a lot, so it's hard to answer the question of what I'm not doing that I would like to do. We're actually, pushing the standards here, I think, really pushing that envelope on this one. What would I like to do? I think I'd like to do probably more moving camera effects. We are doing quite a bit. I'd like to do more, but we are somewhat limited because of the technology issues.
Stars.
I would like to be able to use really big stars. But
hey, Sass, welcome.
Unfortunately, we're not quite there yet for that. But that's probably what I'd like to have if I could.
Is that it? That's it. Okay. So we no longer have the multiple choice interviews. Oh my god. Sorry. I had to boost the volume by literally 25 decibels to be able to hear her. Yeah, that's actually the first time there's been the audio's been that quiet. All right, there we go. It should be better. Okay, so I don't like that the interviews are no longer interactive, and they seem to be asking fewer questions, so... Or maybe they just didn't have a lot to ask Roberta. I don't know. Let's move on. We got the interview. It was pretty good. We got letters to the editor now. Loves the second opinions. Oh, it won't read it out loud, but I can change the font. Courier. It could be Courier or Times or Arial. Arial. No, Courier. Oh my god, Courier. You offer second opinions. Wonderful! Then you give pros and cons in a separate format. And then you mention other games to try as well. What can I say? Thank you. These are offerings one just can't find in other publications. I would only request it in the future. Please let the second opinion be a little longer. SF, Greenwood, Illinois.
Do something. It's pretty hard.
Nelson JD, thank you for the 4-month resub. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Visualize it.
Well, we're glad you like the second opinion. We like them too. So much that we've decided to do all of our reviews in two voices, Siskel and Ebert style. Not only does this make the second opinion longer, we find it more entertaining, and it helps differentiate our reviews from our previews. Okay. The ads suck. I mean, that's not wrong. First off, I absolutely hated the ads. Like watching commercial television, and I never do that. The main point about ads on a CD magazine is that, as you yourself know, gamers are a different breed from the ordinary consumer. So I needed those ads like I needed someone telling me there's an IRS in this country, says SF of Glenwood, Illinois. Same person? Yeah, what the hell? A lot of people seem to hate the ads, and we are working on them. In a perfect world, we could dump them and just run editorial, but unfortunately, we do need to pay our bills. Please be patient with us as we try to find a format for the ads that's appealing for both our viewers and our advertisers. Remember, nobody's ever really done anything like this before, so we're kind of making it up as we go along. Lord, I know about that. All right, more patches, more demos. This is, different person this time. From RL of Milford. I obtained your episode 1 CD-ROM and Strategy Plus magazine. I was very impressed with the format. First, I must say that you have an excellent idea in including the patches. I am a gamer without a modem. I fear the cost of my lack of self-control, so I must call and have patches sent to me. This is okay, except that some companies won't send the patches through the mail, so please include as many patches as possible. This is one of the main reasons I am sending in a subscription order. Also, please include as many interactive demos as possible. This is the other area where your CD mag is far superior to a print magazine. This is an area where feedback from our viewers can certainly help us. What? That's a normal noise. Don't worry about it. Starting this month, we've made a major effort to scavenge a ton of patches for the CD mag. Nearly 20 meg worth on this disc. However, it's sometimes tough for us to decide what we should include and what we should pass over. If there are specific game patches you're looking for, tell us. If you're sick of old dead game V 1.93 taking up space on the disc for the last 6 months, tell us that too. That was a Sequest noise, yes. As far as demos goes, you'll have to write to the game companies and tell them how much you love seeing demos on IE. We solicit companies for demos, but they ultimately make the decision whether or not to do it. Cross-listing confusion. SF from Glenwood, Illinois is back. Let me have a bit of drink here. Okay. Another thing I didn't enjoy was the cross-listing of the articles. I realized that the reason for this was, again, that you are trying to find which way is easiest for the consumer to read. But the effect is I find one menu where it lists a review of something, and I consult the review, and then I see it under another in what appears to be a different department, that same game title listed again. So I go to the second listing right away, too, assuming it will offer further remarks on the game, either background about it or gossip from the creators, or even hints or strategy, or maybe it's the general reception of the market, only to find what was listed in the very same review I just listened to. Disappointing. Yeah, that's the noise I make too. Apparently, cross-listing articles confused an awful lot of people. This really surprised us. It seemed like a good idea when we did it. We are discussing ways to revamp the interface, but such an effort is going to take a lot of time, and we still have to put out a new CD mag every month while we do it. Rest assured, though, there will be a version 2.0 of the interface in a few months down the line that will address the problems people have with it. For now, you should know that articles are listed both under the type of article, preview, review, or hints and tips, and whatever subject category that game falls into. Sometimes the game will fall into more than one category, so we list it in both places there as well. There's only one article, but it appears in multiple places to cater to different types of people. The ones who like to read the reviews and previews all at once, and the ones who like to see all of the strategy games at once. Okay? I.e., way too buggy. Now, this is true. It's a different person, JM from Andover, New Hampshire. I like the interface and the speed of content. Really like having the patches available and being able to see the game screen. And price seems fair. But speech would come and go, present for some and not for others. Every so often, it would drop into a walkthrough of Empire Deluxe without my asking it to. Even in the midst of doing another program. Okay, that's really funny. I would love to have that happen. Like, I could just be playing Pets, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, here's our review of Dennis Miller's That's News to Me. Every so often would lock. No sound, no mouse response, nada. Never did get MIDI to run. So my answer is a wonderful idea, but I am not ready to plunk down 60 till somewhat less buggy. This is JM. Well, sadly, this person will probably never see this letter here, but I'll reply to it anyway, because it's a point worth addressing for the rest of our viewers. First of all, the disc JM is referring to was episode 0, our prototype or demo episode. The one we created over the course of many months spent teaching ourselves how to do what we're doing. It's not exactly a sterling example of the best quality we're capable of producing. However, I can't say that all his complaints are attributable to that, so let's look at these problems individually. The Empire Deluxe thing I can only assume is an ad. I've talked about ads elsewhere in this letter's menu, so I won't rehash my points. As for the speech, the crashing, and the MIDI music, I have no idea why JM is having these problems because I haven't spoken to him. He didn't call us for tech support. Instead, he assumed that all the problems he was having were due to buggy code, when I know that at least one of his problems, no MIDI, is easily fixable 99% of the time. Take that, you dipshit. The point I'm trying to make is that if you feel I feel that IE is interesting, entertaining, and worth your time. We don't want to lose you as a viewer just because you are having technical problems. Call us. We will try to help. We are regularly in the office from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time and irregularly in the office at all hours. The number is, don't call that number, chat. If you call us with a problem and we can't talk to you right away, we'll try to get back to you within a day. Finally, please be patient with us. We're virtually inventing a new medium here, traveling in unknown waters late at night with a one-eyed navigator. We'd like to think we're doing something unique and original with IE, but none of it amounts to anything unless people want to buy it. So stick with us and let us know what you think. That is the letter section. I hope they'll have more of those. They're just like, hey, call us. You can't have MIDI. Call us. Give us a call. I'll walk you through your MIDI problem. Or fax us. Give us a fax. Be like, hey, this MIDI sucks. All right, we did the interview. Let's go to previews. Let's see. Bioforge.
There's been an awful lot of hype these days in the computer gaming industry over the hottest buzzword since multimedia. You probably guessed it. I'm talking about interactive movies. Maybe it's just me, but lately it seems like everybody and his brother have been billing their latest release as the ultimate interactive movie. The first company to have a valid claim to this illustrious title may be those innovators from Austin. Bioforge is not
the
Origin's
innovators
first
from
attempt at an
Austin.
interactive
Woo!
movie, but it may be the first one to hit the mark.
That's me.
Bioforge is a cyberpunk adventure game with a Total Recall meets 2001 meets Aliens meets Alone in the Dark storyline. The storyline for this game is pretty much this. You, the player, have been mutated horribly by some form of alien. You can't remember who you are and why you're where you are. It's your task to find out via hints and tips throughout the game. Ken Demarest, Bioforge's project leader, was kind enough to give an explanation of what he envisions as an interactive movie.
The very first adventure games really were the Ultimate series, where you had, a somewhat awkward vantage point if you were trying to achieve a cinematic style, and that grew gradually into more and more complex types of interaction, diverged eventually into adventure games on the one side and role-playing games on the other. The adventure games became a side-scrolling,
like 20 decibels
kind of experience, but still never really developed any kind of a cinematic feel to them. Although, Sierra had a great number of them and would use a very similar engine, which evolved very gradually. Lucasfilm, of course, entered the fray. They also
just waiting for this to
made some
end,
improvements on
and it's gonna go to 1 million decibels.
And then what we wanted to
got
do
my key on the volume, my hand on the volume down button,
right into 3 dimensions, and use actual movie techniques to give you the real feel of having a movie experience, but really being in it. So now so that's a kind of convergence of old technology, but we've also seen an interesting divergence as far as people just recording straight video and stringing it together. And so I think what's going to happen, my personal opinion is this. All of the games that have taken the strung together video will be very pretty. They'll be very nice. They may even achieve A-class production
You'd
value.
think they would have just listened
really
to this and seen that they need to turn up the
really
volume.
for all these watch. It might be great if people pump enough money into it. But the problem is going to be this. You can go to the video store and rent for $4 a very good movie. Or you could stick that CD in your machine for $40 and watch, pretty good movie and maybe a top-notch one, who knows? Once people really get their shit together, which I don't think they have yet. So the problem is going to be, competing directly against Hollywood like that, you'll never be able to come up with a competitive product. So I think what's going to happen is the
volume mixing was good for like a single second there.
Now, will that give a bum rap to the name interactive movie? Maybe we shouldn't style this kind of product an interactive movie at all, because the real focus of it is on synthetic actors and the amount of control and actual gameplay that you have when you're playing something like Bioforge.
The most interesting aspect of Bioforge's creation has to be the developer's use of the flock of
You have
birds
no
system.
idea how fast I had to switch to. Oh, you're back to the 0. Thank you for doing such a good job with this miking.
So Ascension is the name of the company. They
Sorry to
manufacture the
bitch.
flock of
It's
birds, which is
I've got the advanced
And that's actually been
audio
available
properties
for-
open in OBS, and I'm quickly switching
surprised.
between
I'm
20
amazed that
decibels
no
and
one's
0
ever done
decibels
something
here.
like what we're doing, for the PC before. It was there. It was right there. All you had to do was write the software, which we did, of course, and dubbed it Salsa, the system for animating lifelike synthetic actors, and it has that Texas, So anyway, Salsa is the real thing that was a breakthrough for us, which would take the data being generated in real time from the hardware sensors and display the results of that data collection right on the screen for you. So the moment that you move your arm...
I want to say that we've played BioForge before,
and of course
but I
that
could
lets
be
the guys that we have doing the recording and actually wearing the suit look at the results of their work immediately. And in fact in real time look at the results of their work and find out how their motions are being translated onto the computer.
Though it's a tad more complicated than it sounds, the flock of birds essentially uses magnets to track the motions of the suit's wearer. As you can see, the sensors are strategically placed for the most lifelike movements. The software package called Salsa records the data generated by the flock of birds hardware and translates them into animations. This incredible mesh of software and hardware looks very similar to the very popular 3D Studio. It plays back in actors' movements in almost perfect detail, not to mention that you get to watch them in real time, then record the session for cinematic sequences or just plain animation. Origin can also use the actors' movements to animate monsters by assigning
Little kids
each
are right.
sensor to a
Dinosaurs
monster
kick
part.
ass.
Recorded motion can be used for multiple characters simply by pasting different character graphics over the movements. The characters in BioForge are intricately detailed with beautiful texture maps, and the backgrounds are rendered to result in an almost photorealistic look. The animations for the characters' movements are also a work of art, as you might have guessed, and even the arcadish fighting scenes are a pretty sight to see. Origin has gone to great lengths in BioForge to create the ultimate and user-friendly
this is what real life looks like. It's
in
very
the fighting
photorealistic.
scenes and when you're moving about, all one needs to use is the keyboard. And if during a fight you happen to get turned around, your character will automatically turn towards your foe, which of course makes perfect sense. The innovative way of recording lifelike animation is the heart and soul of BioForge. Without it, BioForge might have been just another run-of-the-mill adventure game calling itself an interactive movie. Couple this with the intuitive controls, 8-channel sound effects,
there are
and music,
showing
beautifully
a random
rendered backgrounds,
dinosaur.
and storylines, and
Okay.
BioForge could very well be the start of a whole new generation of games.
Okay, well, if I want a dinosaur, I know where to go. So please, please, please sound edit better. This is so old. It's from 1994. I get it. I can't complain about sound editing because how long did it take for me to put like a compressor on my mic? So, it's a little throwing stones in glass houses here. But still, those interviews are too quick.
Don't let anyone tell you that you can't learn anything playing a computer game. After a session with QQP's Bridge Olympiad, I now know how to play bridge, although Omar Sharif doesn't have much to worry about. I wasn't a card-playing novice, though, before I got this game, so it's not really a surprise that I was able to learn fairly easily. However, there's no question that the design of Bridge Olympiad provides a great basis
I'm so
for
glad they're
someone learning to
reviewing a
play the
bridge
game.
simulator.
If you're a bridge expert who's laughing at the notion of a game that helps a novice, don't be in such a hurry to stick your nose up in the air. This is a flexible
Why
enough
would
game to
I?
provide a stiff challenge to any level of player. The practice mode serves
gotta
as a
ask, who
tutorial
are
for the
these,
aspiring bridge player.
bridge
Since it
players
doesn't
who are
provide
looking
the
down
basic
on
rules of
this
the
game?
The new player is going to have to do a
Snooty
little
bridge
research on his
player.
or her own before beginning. However, this serves as an outstanding way to practice once you develop a vague idea how the game is played. In addition to providing a place to play as many practice hands as you wish,
Look at
the
him!
practice mode has a handy help function that's particularly invaluable to the beginner. By clicking on the question mark, the computer provides help to the completely baffled player by
I'm sorry,
suggesting what card you should play next.
He looks like
The accomplished player
a
has
politician.
2 options to choose from.
I don't know
the
if he's a
rubber
good or a
the
bad
Olympiad.
politician, but that guy looks
Choosing
like a
the rubber
politician.
simply lets you play basic bridge hands, while the Olympiad provides a tournament format that
Not-
allows you
not
to
like-
test your
like-
skills against a number of other
Yeah,
players.
he looks
The
like
computer provides
he's making a
20
lot of
different
decisions
players
in the
that you can play
Midwest.
with and
He looks like a
against.
Midwest
All these
guy.
players have different strengths and
Sorry, I've been
weaknesses,
reading so
allowing
much
you a wide
Doonesbury,
variety
you
of
wouldn't
styles to
believe.
choose from.
So I've
Bridge
got a
doesn't
lot of
immediately leap to
a lot of
mind as the most
opinions on how
exciting
guys
basis
look
for a computer
political.
game, but Bridge Olympiad's design makes it a release that should appeal to a wide variety of card players, including those who don't know the game. If you're looking to learn something new, this is definitely
Yeah,
a
my
bridge
next
you should
stream
cross.
I'm doing on this channel is going to be a Doonesbury showcase. It's going to be really good. But, yeah, that's just for the future. So I've got Doonesbury on the brain. There is no Doonesbury bridge game. There's a quiz game and an election game, but no bridge game. Because they hate us. Who's they? I don't know.
Long before Horace Greeley urged Americans to go west, young man, our founding fathers set sail, caught a westerly wind, and discovered the New World. You'll fill that explorer's role in Colonization, a microprose game that's sure to evoke memories of civilization.
What
Since
if
this
I don't
game is
want to
set in a relatively
colonize?
short span of 1500 to 1800, it doesn't cover as much ground as Civilization.
What if
However,
instead
the same
of
strategy and
colonizing,
management elements are present as you manage your new colonies and
I
fight
do
out
literally
competition
anything
from
else?
the other three European powers who are also staking out their turf. If your ancestors are European, you'll probably have a built-in prejudice when you start this game, since you get to choose England, the Netherlands, France, or Spain as your mother country.
You have a
Once you
built-in
make that
prejudice
choice, you're
as you
given a
play
small number of
colonization.
colonists
Yeah,
to board a
I would
ship
assume
and
so.
head
Hey,
west.
Juan, welcome.
Once you reach land,
I don't know
you
if we're going to do a
necessarily have to
Simpsons
settle in what is
thing,
now
but we'll
America.
definitely do
Your ship can
Doonesbury.
sail up and down the coast and establish your first settlement wherever you like. After putting down roots, you can begin building your colony by assigning vital tasks to your settlers. Each settler can be assigned a trade. Also, the local tribes aren't angry at the white man yet, so you can trade with them and send your settlers to live with them and learn vital skills. And since these are the 1500s, you can call them Indians without having to worry about crossing the forces of political correctness. Nah. Your colony's growth is
What?
aided by the fact that you
No
remain
one-
in contact with your native country, which provides you with additional
Bro,
settlers.
it wasn't a big
Also,
deal
once
when
you
we
start
all
producing
started
a
saying
surplus of
Native
commodities,
American.
you can
I
start
remember that
trading
from
for
my
additional
childhood. It was
supplies.
really
At the
easy to
beginning
do,
of the
bro.
game, there's little from the outside that can hamper your
It's
colony.
easy to do it. It's not
However,
hard.
As time goes on, you
It's-
face competition from the Indians, along with the other three European powers that are also
Clip
establishing
it. I am
settlements.
going to
Much
show
later in
off
the game,
Rat
you may
Master
also find
Ronnie.
yourself at odds with the politicians back in your native country, does this sound familiar, that are intent on keeping their colonists under control.
Because I'm
Colonization
pretty-
takes
yeah.
the basic tenets of civilization and compresses them into 3 centuries with the context
Yeah,
of the
watch
exploration
out,
of the North American
multimedia
continent. It worked throughout most of history in the old game, so there's no reason to think it
Yeah,
won't be
that's
just
the
as
other thing.
good
It's
in
just
this
not
new
an
one.
accurate term. There's like no reason to use it. It's like the human in me is like, I don't want to use a term that offends people because that's not cool. And the other part of me is like, autist is like, it's just not accurate. I'm not going to say something that doesn't work. Anyways, it's time for Doom 2 Hell on Earth. Oh yeah, well, we've got Doom 2 for you, so hopefully that'll help you out.
On December 10th
Oh my
of
God,
last
that's
year,
scary.
a day that will live in infamy, PC gamers jammed phone lines at BBS sites all across the country to get their sweaty, clamoring claws on Doom, a game that redefined the shoot-'em-up. At the end of this year, it prepares to give legions of Doom junkies even more blood, death, and creepiness. Doom 2 Hell on Earth is poised for a December release, and it's going to be a long, hard wait for this update of what has already become a computer game classic. Doom 2 will use the same engine as its predecessor with a few minor tweaks. It will run under version 1.4 of its Doom operating system, which should be available as a patch to the current system as you hear this. Among the changes found in 1.4 is a new rule for deathmatch play. If you kill yourself, you lose a frag. This will keep poor sports from finishing themselves off when in weak health. There's no place in hell for wimps.
Okay.
Here's a peek at one of the new levels found in Doom 2. In the first game, the design team was learning what they could do with
you like how
levels
they're
as they
recording
went,
this?
but now they know exactly how to inflict their sick thoughts on you. All the new levels are designed with
I
deathmatch
love
as a
this
high
is how
priority,
everything should
so
be
expect to see
filmed.
lots of catwalks.
This is how
open
I'm going to
arenas
start showing
gleefully
videos
slaughter
from
your
now
friends in.
on.
If you thought all humans except yourself were wimps, think again. This
Okay.
guy is tired of you picking on his brothers, and he's found a way to get his point across to you. Also, I think he's seen a few too many Van Damme movies. Although it might be fun to play dueling chain guns once or twice, I'd recommend a couple rockets in the back for dealing with humans of this caliber. One of the new faces you'll come up against is a variation on an old one. This new breed of cacodemon vomits those
I'm the
flaming skulls known
cacodemon.
as
Do you
lost
like
souls
me?
at you instead of spitting
Hey,
ball lightning. When you
how
finally
you
succeed at shutting
doing?
him down, he explodes
I'm a nice
into,
dude.
you guessed it, 3 more lost souls.
Give me a
Keep that
hug.
shotgun handy. Unlike the old monsters, which were created from clay sculptures, the new creatures of Doom 2 are first brought to life by means of a highly detailed latex-like models with wire skeletons. I know you won't rest easy until you get to see a few, so here they come. Just prepare yourself for some ghouls of extreme destruction. This big ugly dude looks like something that jumped out of a John Waters movie. Crybaby goes to Nukem High. He may need a few hours on a Nautilus machine, but you won't be saying that to his face. Those are plasma guns on his arms, and your experience with wielding them in Doom should arm you with one important fact. They hurt.
Nah, I haven't done anything The Simpsons on this channel. I like the way the model's shaking. Big butt. Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's because of, I don't know the John Waters connection. Is it because of the ass? That guy's got a huge ass. What's up with that ass?
In most adventure games, skeletons are an easy kill, but don't think you'll get away so easily with this one. Those launchers on his lapels shoot
This
guided
is the exact
missiles.
opposite of the other
I'll
guy.
say
No
that
ass
again,
at all. Little
guided
skeleton
missiles.
ass.
As in, if
Bony
you duck behind a
ass
corner, they come
guy.
after you. That's cruel, guys. Just plain cruel.
No ass. None. Zip ass. Zero ass. Going from the richest of richest to the depths of nothing with ass in the stream.
Those guys at id must really have it in for us. This beastie wanders around resurrecting all the monsters you've killed. If you've reduced them to a rank pool of disgustingness, they come back as lost souls. As
This
if
is not a
that
bad
weren't
ass.
enough, if you're in
This
his
is a
line of sight when he
pretty good
finishes
ass.
his
Not as
resurrection
good as the
ritual,
other one,
he hits
but
you with
pretty
a lightning
good.
strike that's the equivalent of getting
Look at
nailed
that
with a
though.
BFG.
It's so
I want my cheat
taut.
codes, and I want them now.
His ass's cheeks are so taut and tight. I do need to make a tier list.
Although still unfinished, this is the first you'll see of the ultimate end-of-game demon thing.
Looks
I've
cool.
been told a little bit about this guy and how he attacks, but that's something I'll leave for you to find out on your own. Just beware of anything that sits on a throne, and keep your eye on the floor. Well, that's Doom 2 so far.
Look
I'd
at this
say it's no
guy.
big deal, but not even my own mother would believe me. Doom fans all over the world love
There's no
slogging their
teeth.
way through the most hideously unfair levels imaginable. And this second installment promises to elevate the game to an even higher level of sadism.
I love that little guy. Bring him back.
Since the beginning of time, man has sought ways to escape the bounds of gravity.
That's
In
true.
the
We
world
hate
of PC
gravity.
flight sims, some have had some success. Some have done very well. Looking Glass Technologies has produced the closest thing yet to capturing the magic that is flight. Flight Unlimited is an aerobatic flight simulator and trainer that lets you do what no other flight sim has ever done. Experience free aerobatic flight in high-performance aircraft with a level of realism that is truly unsurpassed. Looking Glass physics designer Seamus Blackley talks about the team's dedication to the flying experience.
In the genre of flight simulators, there's something which I call an establishment flight
Hey, they did the
Microsoft Flight
audio right
Simulator
in
is
this
the
one.
establishment. F-14 is the establishment. Strike Commander is the establishment. They all have the same features. They all implement these features to a greater or lesser degree, and everyone has come to expect those features. And everyone looks to see how well they've implemented those features, and when the new flight simulator comes out, it implements, say, the renderer feature a little bit better, or it does texture mapping a little bit, does one of these crazy things a little bit better. And our attitude with Flight Unlimited was not to do that, was to say that, listen, there's something missing from the experience in these games. There's something missing. There's a reason that you have to have all these fancy HUDs and heads-up displays, and why Microsoft has all of these options and menus and blinking things, because there's something missing from that pure experience of flying that the establishment isn't getting. So we started at the very beginning to redesign what a flight simulator should be.
These amazing graphics are obtained by using stereo aerial photography and stereo matching using an original program that other companies will probably pay them lots of money for. The painstaking effort results in what you see before you, and we are promised that the planes will look even better when the finished product hits the shelves this fall. Testimony to the design team's dedication to the flying experience in and of itself is the fact that the Flight Unlimited world will encompass anywhere from 5 to 15 square miles depending on how much RAM you have. In the cockpit, you get the same high-quality graphics at an awesome frame rate. Add to that the left-wing and right-wing views and the fact that there's no artificial horizon, and you know you're in for some good, wholesome flying by the seat of your pants. In the upper left corner of your
I
cockpit
usually fly
is a
by airplane,
CAD-like
but you can
diagram
fly
of
by
your
the
plane's
pants
flight
if you
profile
want.
for orientation reference. In the upper right is your flight pattern. This is how the pros do it. The pilot is the musician. The pattern is the music. And the plane is the instrument. Hopefully with enough raw meat horsepower to get you up there and ow. Sorry. Also available will be online judging for your aerobatic maneuvers and instruction with both visual and audio cues. So far, you have 4 planes to choose from, including a glider, and all fully aerobatic. I'm informed by the designers that a tow will be available to launch the glider, but you can always start any flight already airborne. Although the copy I sampled was without sound, the final version promises to have a digital soundtrack on par with the graphics and physics model. The engine and wind sounds were recorded by strapping a digital recorder onto a pilot, then sending him up to do some actual maneuvers. No effort has been spared when it comes to making Flight Unlimited the most realistic flight simulator
This is
available
pretty cool,
to
I'm not
private
gonna lie.
citizens,
This looks
and
pretty
that
neat.
includes the FBO or fixed base operations. You move around in a first-person perspective using your mouse. The graphic detail ranges from the late afternoon sun beating down on the floor, to the model airplanes on the table where you select your plane, to the photorealistic posters on the wall, to the bulletin board where you select your flying location. Flight Unlimited looks to be a hit, and with titles like this, Looking Glass is a company to watch.
All right. Apparently, you need to go flying. Lords of Midnight.
If
What's
you're not familiar with the original Lords of Midnight game,
I'm not.
don't worry. It was created 10 years ago for a now obsolete British computer called the Spectrum, and then on the popular Commodore 64. But Domark will soon be bringing you up to speed on the epic saga of Luxor and Boroth in Lords of Midnight: The Citadel. For now, here's game designer Mike Singleton with a basic story.
The hero of Lords of Midnight is Luxor, the Moon Prince. He's the ruler of the land of midnight, and he's heard a rumor that a precious jewel called the Eye of the Moon has been found in a land
literally
south of
phoned
the
in.
March, where this game takes place. He sets sail with a small group of friends and helpers and gets shipwrecked on the way and gets captured by the evil Boroth, the Wolfheart, and he gets imprisoned and held hostage. When you actually start the game, you have a number of characters under your control. One of your main objectives is to actually rescue Luxor, but that's not the condition for winning the game. To actually win the game, you've got to
You know those songs where people call in,
someone surviving from Luxor's family. As you go
like on
through the game,
albums?
you can recruit extra characters so that you
It's
start
like
off with
that.
10 characters under your control. You
He
can
left a
get as many as
voicemail
20
congratulating the
people under your
musician,
control
is what it
eventually.
sounds like.
While you're on your way to rescue Luxor, you may want some light reading material. Fortunately, you are carrying a tome full of information on the local fauna, terrain, and evil people. You can scan these pages anytime. On this page, you can take a long-range scan of the area and figure out your route. Use the compass in the upper right to move your magnifying lens over the map. Here you'll find reference material about the creatures you'll meet and the cool magic items you should be on the lookout for. This, for example, is your basic obligatory magic sword. The book also contains handy reminders of who the good guys are, complete
like
with
the
some
swan.
properly regal-looking crests. You can recruit as many as 24 helpers in your quest. Luxor is not the only hostage being held by Boroth, and you can gain allies quickly by releasing his other captives. The Citadel is not quite ready for full play yet. While taking my tour of the lands south of the Blood March, I was able to charge straight through the river Immelvir without a boat and barely got my feet wet.
Nice. Master of Magic.
It's easy to get confused playing Master of Magic. Just when you've decided it's a fantasy game, you convince yourself that it's a strategy game. For those familiar with Microprose's history, the simplest way to describe this game would be Civilization with magic. This game doesn't come anywhere close to covering the time frame that Civilization does, but it does share some of the same basic characteristics. However, as the title suggests, there is magic involved in this game.
Is
As
this
a
game
start,
good?
you can
Never-
choose
never
your
played it or
character
heard
from
of
the
it before.
14 prefab wizards provided, or you can customize your own version. There are 5 different schools
Yeah,
of magic
Steam
you can
Gut.
specialize in, along with 18 separate abilities. Once you begin, you'll have to contend with 4 other wizards. You can research spells to increase your powers, which is important since you can win the game through 2 different means, by conquering the entire world with your military or by casting the Spell of Masters.
What
Be
if I don't
warned,
wanna
though, if
conquer
you go
the
the
world?
spell route, once you start learning the mother of all spells, the other wizards take immediate offense. In addition to being spellbound, you start with 1 army and 1 town. This is where your management skills come in, since you won't be able to win through magic alone. You must use your resources properly in order to expand your turf and build up your troops. Your armies can help you in battle to a point. You'll
To a
fight against
point.
other troops, various and sundry evil creatures who lurk in secret places throughout the world, and other wizards. Increasing your magic powers will help in battle, since you can cast spells to assist your own troops. As you wander around and explore, you'll discover that you can play in 2 different worlds, the basic prime plane and the ethereal plane. as peaceful as the ethereal plane might sound, you'll soon discover that it can be just as
Take
dangerous
me to the
as
ethereal
regular
plane.
world. Master of Magic melds a couple of styles together in one extremely involving game. The strategy and management aspects make it very challenging, but in the end, the player with the best magic ends up looking like a real wizard.
Next up, Battletech Earth Siege.
If game designers are prophets,
Whoa,
we should all
cool.
be glad we aren't going to live forever. The latest apocalyptic vision of the future comes courtesy of Dynamics in Battletech Earth Siege. Set 500 years from now, you're part of a plucky band of warriors battling extinction at the hands of alien war machines called cybrids. Luckily for you, your forces have hidden bases strategically placed throughout the Earth.
Yeah,
You
I like
fight the
going to
cybrids in
interactive
land-based
entertainment. It's real
machines called
chill.
Hercs, which are actually
music,
second-hand
too.
weapons that used to belong to your enemy. According to designer Mark Crow, the fact that the humans are well down the technology food chain is an important element in the game.
The humans have kind of been beaten back and they're on the brink of extinction, and they have limited means for manufacturing weaponry, so everything they get...
I love the interviews in this one.
...battlefield from the enemy, which is kind of a neat aspect to the game. Instead of just blowing up the enemy, which you can certainly do, sometimes you have to strategically target weapons on the enemy robots and blow them off so that they can be acquired and added to your technology base.
Your salvage skills are one of the keys to
Links,
succeeding.
I
in this
had a
game, since
video
they
store
lead to
that
better
also had
weapons for your
PC
side.
games to
As
rent.
the
Oh my
game
god.
progresses and your technology
I ended up
improves,
working
you can
for that
select a
video
new
store and
armament
made my way up to
improve the
manager.
firepower of your forces. Earth Siege has 8 different battle campaigns. You can select the single mission mode, or you can go with the career campaign, as Mark Crow explains.
We have a branching campaign tree, and the outcome of each campaign will affect the following campaign. So like if one campaign wasn't a complete success, well, then the next campaign, when you branch off, there's going to be dire consequences. Like if you didn't knock out enemy flyers in one mission, or at the end of one campaign, the next mission, they've located your base and they're attacking your base.
This is a one-player game, but you're not fighting the cybrids on your own. You're in charge of a squadron with several groups under your control, which carries out strikes, reconnaissance, and scramble missions. The
I like that
graphics
you can't
package
see who
features
Captain
texture
Law
maps for
is.
the ground, clouds, and sky. There's also a hazing effect that creates a fog of war, which allows your enemies to disappear into the haze off in the distance. The game's robots are also fully texture mapped. You win Battletech Earth Siege when you successfully complete all the campaigns. If you reach that point, you'll probably think that you've knocked out all the enemy cybrids, but you should heed this word of warning. There are always bigger, nastier cybrids lurking in some designer's demented mind as he plans the sequel.
There we go. Perfect General 2. What about... Wait. I know it's TAC Ops, but it looked like Talk Ops, like Taco Ops. Like you're doing an operation for tacos, which I would do a lot. I'm sorry. As a Texas resident, I would do so much for tacos. We have so many good tacos in this
When you
state.
prominently
Oh my
display the
God.
word perfect in a game title, you're establishing a rather high set of expectations. Apparently, QQP must have met or exceeded its hopes for Perfect General, since the company has come up with a sequel called, strangely enough, Perfect General 2. To trot out a tried and true cliche, PG-2 is the same, but different. The sequel shares many of the same characteristics as the original, but features the addition of super VGA graphics, improved sound, updated artificial intelligence, and campaign play. The basic
Okay,
format
so
of this game will be very
This
familiar
is
to
interesting and
QQP
stuff, but I
war
gotta tell you the
game
best thing
fans.
about
After
Austin
choosing your battle
is that,
or
and Texas
scenario,
in general,
you're set loose
is
in
that
your
you can
local
get really good
military
tacos
hardware
from
store,
gas
where you're
stations,
allowed
like
to
for
fritter
real.
away all of your money on
oh my
implements
god,
of
I had the
destruction.
best El
From here,
Pastor
you go to
taco
set up
from
your
this little
troops.
gas
In
station
many
the other day. It was
cases, your
so
campaign
good.
or battle features a huge map, but you can't put your armies just anywhere. In order to keep you within the basic parameters of whatever battle you're fighting, you're only allowed to place your troops in certain areas. Once the fighting begins, the interface makes it easy to manage your forces, leaving you plenty
Everyone's
of time to ponder your
favorite
next brilliant
text-based
strategical
strategy.
move. To find out whether you can attack something, all you need to do is click on it with your mouse. When you're lobbing artillery shells or bombing enemy targets, you can attack only in the areas that aren't masked out. Reinforcements may or may not be on their way, depending on the scenario. The battles last a finite number of turns, and there's a great deal of flexibility within the game setup to make this as easy or as difficult to play as you like. As someone who spends a great deal of time cursing some game designers' lack of vision, one of my favorite features is the recon map. This allows you to pull out from the tunnel
And
view
it's
you
so
have in the
readable,
battle map
too.
and get a look at the big picture. The Perfect General 2 plays perfectly to QQP's strengths, a basic, simple interface and design, with enough flexibility built into the game's option to elevate the degree of difficulty. Finally, please keep in mind that the graphics seen with this preview are from a beta version of the game and will be enhanced when it's released.
Next, Shadow of the Comet. I haven't heard of so many of these PC games.
There must be some major fans of H.P. Lovecraft at Infogrames. Not only was their best-selling Alone in the Dark based on Cthulhian writings, but so was their latest, Shadow of the Comet.
writings.
But don't worry, even if you are completely unfamiliar with those stories of monstrous elder gods and their dealings with humanity, this game should send a chill down your spine. It seems that back in 1834, a scientist named
like this.
Lord
This is why I
Boleskine
use
went crazy
ping
while
tuber.
viewing Halley's Comet in a small New England town of Ilsmouth. You play the character of John T. Parker, another astronomer visiting the same town 76 years later in 1910.
John, you look
just
like
3
you
days
belong
before the
in
comet
Twin
is supposed
Peaks.
to come back. As you investigate Ilsmouth, it becomes clearer that Boleskine was driven mad by something he saw in the village. The citizens seem pleasant enough, but something menacing lurks under the surface, and it's only by delving into those depths that you'll be able to save the world when the comet comes back. While there is some problem solving to be done, this is not so much an adventure game as a story that you move through at your own pace. Especially in dialogue, most of the decisions are made for you. This may frustrate some gamers who would prefer to work out everything for themselves. But it shouldn't be that difficult for most players to enjoy sitting back and watching
he looks like
the
he's
events
from
unfold.
David Lynch's
There's enough player
Dune.
input to keep you from falling asleep,
I'm just
and there's
saying.
a lot of great stuff to watch. The graphics are particularly nice in overlaid close-ups like this one. The conversations are as screen text as well as speech, but you can't choose one or the other. Ever been at the terminal so long you feel like you need a walk in the woods? When the game gets too stressful, you can
This
go
woods
right
is
outside
pretty.
of town and take a virtual breath of fresh pine air. Soon you may be reciting Robert Frost. Another interesting recreational opportunity is not even directly related to the game. The CD-ROM includes a Lovecraft museum as a separate program. To further set the macabre mood, you can wander through the halls looking at various exhibits inspired by the works of the gentleman from Providence. Shadow of the Comet is just brimming over with atmosphere. The supposedly placid New England
interesting.
atmosphere
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a thin
I'd take a
shell
peek
over
at
something
this.
dark and frightening. Slowly but surely, you'll be thrown into a genuine nightmare that may hit all too close to home.
Wing Commanders is for all the FMV loving furries.
At the end of this year,
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
Tyrann
talking
Kilrathi
about.
War will draw to a close with Wing Commander 3. Once again, the fate of the human race will fall into your hands as you take to the stars to combat the deadly oppression of the Kilrathi Empire. Whether cat or ape triumphs depends on you, but one thing is certain, regardless of your performance, the Wing Commander saga is fated for a strong and stunning finale. Production of this project seems more akin to movie making than game developing. Storyboards were drawn up to illustrate the plot and provide a visual reference to the artists who will eventually shape the final look of the game. Art for ships and characters are hand-drawn long before any of it makes its way into the program. Wing 3 will run under Super VGA, so players will be able to enjoy the vision of the artists in a more faithful form than ever before. This time
I
around,
love these
instead
cat
of using
people.
the animated characters that have become an Origin trademark, all of the characters in the game are portrayed by real actors. Just like in the movies, filming took place in California. The shooting ended at the beginning of June. The actors seemed to have a pretty good time, although it took some adjustment to act out a scene on a blank set. Of course, everybody was intensely curious about the array of high-tech toys Origin took to the shoot. One thing that is sure to set the feel of this game is the casting of none other than Mark Hamill
I
as
love
your
these
alter
guys.
ego. Say goodbye, Mr. Blue Hair. It's time to let a real star handle this job. Chris Roberts wrote the original Wing Commander to allow himself and others to play out their Star Wars fantasies. So who could be more perfect for the part? Welcome aboard, Mark. In computer games, real-life actors are only as good as the software that brings them to life. Once again, Origin has reached into their bottomless bag of tricks and pulled out something to make us all drool. The video clips will be shown in SVGA at 640 by 240, giving them a letterboxed appearance, which, as luck would have it, just happens to make them run nice and fast. If you're worried about upgrading your hardware for this, don't. What you're seeing here is produced by a non-local bus 48633 with a dog-slow video card.
Cool.
Your past life experience with the Commander line of games does very little to prepare you for the action you'll see in this title. Wing 3 will be an updated version of the engine
Yeah,
from Wing
640 by
Armada.
240,
All ships
the,
will use
ultimate,
Gorod shading to greatly up
aspect
their
ratio.
realism. When you hammer on a ship's shields, you'll get a brief
Mark
glimpse
Hamill's
of
in
the shimmering
Sequest,
blue glow of
alright.
energy protecting your target. Your screen will even take visible damage as you get pounded. Among the extended list of
I
upgraded
wonder if
features
there's enough
is your humble
Sequest
nav
ephemera
mode.
for me to
In
do a
this go-around,
Sequest
your map is presented to you in a 3D view, which
showcase.
is rotatable along 3 axes.
I know there's the
This way, you can
SNES
see
game.
the actual position of
I don't
ships
know if there's
within your
any
action
others.
sphere and get a much better idea of what is around you. If you liked getting friendly with your capital ships before, you'll love it in Wing 3. Not only can you fly up close to them, but you can actually pilot your ship right through their interiors. You can also get right up alongside them without their images pixelating and breaking up. This opens up possibilities for maneuvers never before attainable in a Wing Commander game. Please note that the capital ship seen here is not the art
There's a
that will be in the
Genesis,
finished
SNES,
game.
and Game Boy
Not all
game.
missions will
Okay,
take place
I
in
could
the
do
cold
that.
wastes of space.
I wonder if there's like
Your tour of duty will
multimedia,
now take you into the
multimedia.
atmospheres of alien worlds. In these missions, it's not other ships you'll have to worry about so much, but the threat posed by ground-based targets. This uses the Strike Commander engine, but with much better results. I have seen the beginning of the end, and it is good. Origin is preparing to set yet another high standard for the rest of the world to follow. Once again, I'm left twitching in anticipation. You'll need a CD-ROM drive and 8 megs of memory to play Wing Commander 3, but I'm sure you won't have a problem with that. Origin is not yet sure how much processor power this one will take, but they're keeping us 4633 owners in mind. Even if we are sent scampering down the upgrade path once again, you have to admit that it'll all be worthwhile for games of this caliber.
All right, next up, Wings of Glory.
Over the years, flight simulations have come in all shapes and sizes, from the basic Falcon 3.0 to the highly acclaimed Red Baron. If you've actually played Red Baron and wished for something with a little more graphic intensity, Wings of Glory could be the game for you. Origin has taken the basic engine from Strike Commander, tweaked it considerably, and thrown in some classic planes from the Great War. This means that you'll have rolling hills, lush three-dimensional clouds, and if your computer has enough processing power, scattered trees here and there. The creative team on Wings of Glory has gone to painstaking lengths to put in the most graphic detail ever seen in a flight sim. Each plane has been rendered in 3D Studio with intricate decals painted on in brilliant color. To add realism to Wings of Glory, Origin has added hotspots to their three-dimensional wire meshes. When one of these hotspots is hit, the character controlling the plane will actually lose control of
Planes
that
will
section,
never look
whether
better
it's
than
the
this in a video
ailerons,
game.
the rudders, or even the pilot himself. To add realism, Origin has included some incredible sound effects.
Cool,
This includes
Zeppelin.
creaking of the plane's wooden frame and the wind rustling through the wings when one is gliding
I
with
gotta
the
say
engine
it.
off.
Okay.
In Red Baron, you are strictly
Zeppelins
limited
are
to
like
air-to-air
the
combat.
Goombas
In
of
Wings
air
Glory, You'll be
combat.
able to fly
Easy
bombing
to
missions,
kill.
and some
Very
planes
easy
in the
to
latter
kill.
half of the game will even have rockets. Origin
They're
has
like-
obviously done their homework on this one.
You shouldn't
The
even get
overall
points for
variety
shooting
of planes
down
in Wings
a
of Glory
Zeppelin.
will be good. Although you will actually only be able to fly 5 planes, there will be over 20 planes or objects on the sky or ground to shoot at. Tying the missions together is the Wing Commander-style cinematic storyline that Origin is famous for. For those who finish the campaign or just plain
Yeah,
want
it's
to
the
blast
American
things
Hero,
out
the
of the
Red
sky, there is a gauntlet mode in which the player starts out in a single dogfight and then continues to rapidly work his way up the difficulty scale. In the gauntlet, planes come toward you in waves, which increase
Yeah,
with difficulty
Zeppelins
the
are made
longer
to
you survive.
explode.
The
Don't
realism settings are
write.
cranked
If
down in
someone
this mode
invites
to
you
give
to
a
a
more
Zeppelin,
arcadish
just
feeling.
say
The
no,
other two
thank
parts of
you.
the game are the Mission Recorder and the Mission Builder. The Mission Builder offers infinite possibilities when it comes to mission types, and the Recorder lets you look at your last mission with the options to save it or even jump into the game at a certain point, a la Red Baron. One thing that Red Baron was missing was a multiplayer option. For some reason, some rumors started to circulate about Wings of Glory being network and modem playable with a possibility of 2 people on one computer questionable, but when asked, Origin would not comment on whether or not these rumors were true. I'd have to say that it's a pretty good assumption that everyone would like to see Wings of Glory come out as a multiplayer game, but that's just my opinion. Based on the quality of the version of the game I saw, Wings
Rip.
of Glory could easily become the top dog in the World War I flight sim category. If the rumor concerning multiplayer options turns out to be true, I'd bet on it.
All right, it's time for Taco. Psst, 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 psst.
Arsenal Publishing is a new game developer that plans to concentrate exclusively on war games. Given that fact, it's very fitting that TAC Ops is the first release by the fledgling company to hit the marketplace.
All right, chat.
Tactical operations of the modern type
I don't care
are at
about
the
war.
heart of
Chat,
this
tell me your favorite
simulation,
taco.
which pits you against Op4 or opposing forces. That's the abbreviation that our military
Mine
command used to
is
use
probably
for the Soviets back in
pollo
the days when we
asado
were worried
with
about the Red
cilantro
Menace.
and
If you missed the Cold
onion
War,
and
don't worry.
a little
Your
bit of
opponent
salsa.
uses Russian military
I love
equipment.
pollo
This
asado.
game features
Fish
virtually
tacos. Oh
every
my God, fish
two-player
tacos are
option
amazing.
you can think of on one computer, over
Puffy
a network,
tacos, of
by
course,
email,
San Antonio
or over
classic.
a modem. If you live a lonely
Burritos are
life,
good.
or if you're so good at war games that none of your friends will play
chicken
with you
the Dorito.
anymore,
Okay,
you can go
okay.
solitaire.
The chicken taco with
There
the
are
Dorito
over
shell
30
inside
battle
Dorito does sound
scenarios
good.
to
Yeah.
choose from, and over 70
Barbacoa.
weapon
Oh my God,
systems.
barbacoa is
Each
good.
scenario comes with a default list of weapons, but
barbacoa
there's
is
an option
so
which allows you to
good.
make changes in your force's traveling arsenal. Your view of the
Al
game will be that
Pastor
of a
is
battalion
like
or
so. Al
regimental
Pastor
commander.
and
In
pollo
most
asado
scenarios, your
and fish
forces
are
will
my
be
like
aligned with
3
the battalion
ultimate
or
tacos.
brigade
You
level.
give me one of those and
However,
I'm
you
alive.
can elect to split your forces into individual
A
vehicles
local taco
and
place
infantry
with
squads.
tacos with shredded chicken,
Despite
black
the impressive
beans,
detail, this isn't
pico
the
de
sort of game
gallo,
that
peppers
requires
and
you to
onions,
spend a
spicy
month to
queso.
win a
That
battle.
sounds good.
TAC Ops
Birria.
is
Birria
turn-based.
tacos are great
Every order
too.
you give your troops requires a set amount of time. Once the order phase ends, the
Sorry, these are
combat
all
phase
good tacos.
begins.
Thank
At the
you,
end of the
Missing
computer
String E.
minute,
5-month
about 10 to
resub. Yeah,
15
Al
real seconds,
Pastor.
Control returns to the players who can issue a new set of orders. Within 12
I
to
used to
18
live near a
months
place
after the
like
original
literally
release of this
really,
game,
really, really
Arsenal
walking
plans to
distance from a
issue
place
TAC
that had
Ops 2.
really
That
good
game
Al
will
Pastor
include fully
tacos.
contoured
I no
maps,
longer
and the
do, but
designers
it
are
was
also
nice while it
considering
lasted.
including a wider variety of weapons. There are so many historically based war games out there, it's sometimes easy to forget that it's still possible to design a new game utilizing modern weapon systems. TAC Ops includes all of the new hardware and features a design that doesn't bog the player down. Arsenal's first entry in this highly competitive field should make quite an impact.
And last but not least, in the preview section, it's time for Ultimate Football.
CD-ROMs are a rapidly growing portion of computer
I
technology.
like this graphic over here.
After
This is
all,
great.
you're watching this
Oh my
episode of
God.
IE, aren't you?
This
That
is so
change is
good.
evident in Ultimate Football,
Look.
a CD upgrade of Microprose's Coaches Club Football disc
That's
game.
so good.
As you might guess, the biggest differences between the two releases are in the graphics. On a CD, the uniforms are rendered in specific detail, featuring authentic NFL team logos. The improved graphics stretch to the crowd in the stands, which are texture mapped.
And doesn't
the end
that
zones are
crowd
designed to
look
look
great?
like the actual stadium, and if you pan up to the sky, you'll be able to tell whether it's clear, raining, or snowing, and whether it's a day game or a night game. Since the CD offers more space for artificial intelligence, the gameplay itself will be closer to the actual performance of NFL players. You'll be able to play against a human opponent,
Who's
either
the
in
purple
person
team?
or by modem, or against a computer. The play mode will allow you to control the players, or
Oh,
to
the
simply call
Choco
the plays and
Taco.
let the computer do the dirty work. If you're interested in league play, the
We
CD
used to be
format
a
offers a
soci-
couple of options. You can simply
one of those
choose
horrible,
your
we used to
favorite
be a
team and
society
play out
post,
any
but it's
NFL
about the Choco
schedule between
Taco.
1972 and 1994. The teams included are the 1993 teams, the 1994 teams, and all of the Super Bowl teams through the NFL's history. In case you're wondering, the designers aren't blessed with ESP. They came up with the 1994 teams by hiring a real NFL scout to put together the rosters. If you set up your own league, you can shuffle present NFL teams into new alignments, or you can start from scratch and hold a draft of all the players built into the game's rosters. The league option also allows you to keep track of how the
Wastrel,
players and
thank you
teams
for the
perform
5-month
from
sub.
season to
Choco
season
Taco.
with statistics.
Bottom
Through
text.
the wonder of modem
Thank
play,
you.
your league isn't
Man.
confined by geographical boundaries, and unlike
Choco
real
Tacos are
NFL
so good.
franchises, if one of your
Football's
owners
good
decides he
too,
wants
but
to change cities, he doesn't have
I'd
to
much
listen
rather
to a
have
lot of
Choco
politicians
Taco than watch
squawking over how the
football.
lack of a football team
If
is
they
the
make,
first step
if anyone
toward the
ever
end of
does
the
a
world
gluten-free
as we
Choco
know it.
Taco,
Curious about what effect, if
Tell
any,
me.
CD technology will have on sports releases? You can get a good look at what may be in store for the future in Ultimate Football from Microprose, a sequel to Coaches Club Football with a CD-ROM that takes advantage of the added elbow room with a package of enhanced graphics and statistics.
let's go to the reviews. I actually want to see how many things. We're not going to go do all the reviews today. Obviously, there's going to okay. I think we can go through half of the reviews today. We'll see. But we're going to do an hour of this. So let's
There
go.
certainly is no shortage of naval warfare games for the PC, but most are about warfare that took place.
I know,
when
I
our
saw
parents
Inca 2.
were in
I'm
diapers.
excited.
Along comes Aegis, Guardian of the Fleet, to give you the chance to command a state-of-the-art U.S. naval warship during a time that's fresh in our memories, and using technology that's used to guard our shores today. You command a Ticonderoga-class cruiser in both defensive and offensive missions. Your starting point in Aegis is the operations screen. This is where you set your options and select your missions. If a single mission is too short and a campaign is too long, you have the third option of selecting a battle. The attention to detail in Aegis is awesome, and the graphics are of a quality rarely seen without digitizing photographs. How many commanders have CD players at their helm and check out the steam coming out of the coffee cup? Now that's detail. The omnipresent handset
I
is
could
your means of
barely
moving
see
from
the
screen to
Steam, but
screen,
okay.
although you do have some direct access. You'll find that there are a few basic areas where you'll
BRB
concentrate
real
your
quick,
attention,
folks.
and these are the areas which give you direct access to one another. There are 7 major battle scenarios, each consisting of several missions. You can select individual missions from within a battle, you can select a battle itself and play its missions in order, or select the campaign and play every mission from start to finish. These battle scenarios are real and represent fairly recent history. The exceptions are the Black Sea and Adriatic Sea, which have not taken place but are based on possible outcomes to recent events. Also, in 1982, the Ticonderoga-class warship was still undergoing sea trials and did not participate in the Falklands War. But if it had... This is the Area of Operations map, and it's where you'll form your strategy. A great feature of Aegis is that every map can zoom in and out over a broad spectrum. Different threats have different ranges of operation, and so do your weapons, so this will help you determine just when to act. All contacts are color and shape-coded. Triangles are air, inverted triangles are subs, diamonds are surface, and the M's should be obvious. Another universal
Dennis Miller
feature
will
in
be
Aegis is
will
that
be
you can
here,
hook or
unfortunately,
select
but
any
he's
target by pointing
not
and
here
clicking
yet.
on your selection. It's a good idea to size up any threats in your operating area. A great way to do it is to consult the online James Warbook, which is a modern warfare encyclopedia. By hooking your target and clicking the book icon, you can learn what the target is, what it carries, and
Anybody
what its
read
range
the
is.
latest war
Boy,
book?
I've got a headache this big, and it's got Exocet written all over it. Looks like it's going to be a busy day at the office. I'd better take a tomahawk. When it's time for a closer look at the situation, you head for the Combat Information Center. This is the dark room with all the blinking lights you always see on TV. It's where you conduct all of your detecting and firing operations. Among your available tools are active and passive radar for surface and airborne threats, active and passive sonar for subsurface threats, and your Fire Control Center, where you identify, select, lock, and fire on threats. The upper screens include intelligence, area of operations, and your tactical plot map. You can easily move into any of these systems by pointing and clicking. At any time and anywhere in this game, you can consult with the online instruction manual, which goes a lot further than the written manual does and is not half as tedious. You can select any system or function, and you'll receive all the instruction you need to accomplish your mission. And the best part is that all other operations pause while you're getting help.
Cool.
If only life were like that. When you prepare to fire, hooking the target yields a readout.
Yeah, it'd be cool
of
to
its
be in the
range,
middle of a
speed, and
brawl
bearing.
at like
Select the appropriate
Waffle
weapon for
House,
the
and you're
target.
like, hold on,
In
I
this
gotta
case,
pause
the
to look at the
surface ship
manual,
that
and
is
everyone's
entered a
like, okay,
restricted
okay.
zone. The target's
And then
close
you
enough for a
like
Tomahawk missile,
you
but
learn
out
how
of
to
range for a
throw
harpoon,
coffee
and
in the
I'm not
manual,
waiting
and
for
then
it to
you
get close enough,
you
so it's
unpause
thirds
and you
away
throw
for this
coffee.
bad boy. Despite how many times you've seen it or read it, you will be reminded by the digitized voice that you must declare general quarters
Okay, I
before
haven't
firing.
mentioned it,
When you do fire,
but
you're treated
you
to
know
some
the
great
Waffle
video of an
House
actual missile
where
launch. I'd like
where
to
the
see
lady
that
caught
taken
the
a step
chair,
further with
that
more
that
stock
fight,
footage of the
that
missile in flight
happened
and even
in
plowing into the side of an
Austin.
enemy ship.
I just want you to
see it in
know
the
she
news
is a
reports at the end of the
local.
mission, so why
I've
not
never
in
seen
battle?
her,
The
but
tactical plot map
I
is
know
a
that
lot
maybe
of fun
one
to
day
play
I'll
with.
see her on
In
the
addition to
bus,
the
and
zoom
I will
features standard
be
throughout the
bearing
game, you can
witness
move
to
your
a
view
hero in my
horizontally in any
midst.
direction, and the plot table can rotate in both directions. This is a great vantage point for watching your weapon strikes. In fact, it's the only vantage point. I found it kind of cheesy that when you zoom in
I'd love to
tight,
have
the
her
ships
on the
can
show.
bunch
She
up
seems
on top of
cool.
each other. I also found it odd that this is the only screen where you can adjust game speed. That should run concurrently with the zoom option on each map. Strangely enough, you can still hook any contact with your mouse, but only for identification. The whole post-mission debriefing process
Yeah, lady
is
seems
especially
cool. I just gotta
gratifying.
make sure I
After
don't
being
insult her,
notified of
because
the success of
there's
your
no
mission,
way
you're
I'd
given
win a fight
detailed
with her.
breakdown
Oh
of
my
each
goodness.
event and its result. Pay attention to this report because it will give you a good idea of
Yeah,
how
we need to
much
put it on our
firepower it
tourism
takes to
board
eliminate various
video.
targets and which
Austin,
weapons are more
we know how to
effective, as well as
fight.
your personal efficiency rating in the just completed mission and overall.
I usually
Lastly,
don't throw
after
chairs
your
at people,
military
so I should be
debriefing, you get your
okay.
15
And even if
minutes
I
of
threw a
fame
chair
and
at her, she
takeoff
would
on
just parry
CNN.
it, so it wouldn't
These
even like
stiff news
hit
anchors
me.
give you a media version of what
But I
you
want to
know
do that anyway
firsthand,
because
and
I
it
don't
not
throw
only uses the
chairs.
same stock footage you saw in the firing sequence, but it shows the missile in flight and hitting its target. I'd really like to see this feature on the fire control screen. I can't see how it would interfere with operations at all. Oh well, so much for Momar. Now let's see if we can teach Saddam a thing or two.
Wah, wah. Okay.
There certainly is no...
Let's see the Hey, where's the competing? What the they removed also try. No, they removed also try.
Aegis comes complete with built-in
Aw,
motivations
boo.
as you do battle with familiar faces in familiar places
I would
using
lo-
state-of-the-art
okay.
technology. This game accurately
I would love to
simulates
do a
the
cable
operational
access show.
versatility that is the trademark of today's armed forces. All this is enhanced by digitized voice and video.
And beyond. But like the thing about Austin is that
Your starting point
is that our local public access, man, it's run. It got bought and run by Linkletter, which is cool. He's a great filmmaker. Man, I gotta impress Linkletter to get on public access. I'm not that good. I couldn't make Waking Life. What? He's the guy who made Waking Life has to see my ideas for a public access show. There's no way I'm gonna impress him. What am I gonna do? Like, oh, I'm gonna go play through interactive entertainment. Like, I'm screwed, man. Oh my god.
The manual could scare off the most hardened wargamer. Also, this game sports some attractive graphics and great digitized
Electric
video,
Boogaloo.
but the designers have failed to exploit this feature
Technically,
to its
the
fullest
Austin
potential.
Film
It doesn't
Society,
affect
which is
gameplay,
run by
but why keep
Linkletter,
yourself
runs
short?
the public
The overall
access,
interface would
and
also
they
be
bought it
better
out when it was
served
going to
if
go
items
under.
like
So
game
it's good that he
speed,
brought it. I'm
navigation,
really
and viewing
happy.
explosions
But
were
it's also
universal
like,
to all screens.
oh man, that's a lot of competition. Because like they train you. The Austin Film Society trains you before they let you on public access. I'm terrified of what. I just don't think I'm good.
The omnipresent
Maybe I'm being too negative, but I just don't think it's good enough. I wonder if the summary will have the.
Sorcery captures
Sorry,
the
I'm just
essence
looking
of
for the
modern
two
naval
people fighting.
warfare
I think
with
they took that
Aegis,
out.
Guardian of the Fleet. You are the commander of a Ticonderoga-class cruiser, providing offensive and defensive support for naval task force operations.
If I
in one
did
of four
a
genuine
live
recent
show,
historical
I would
battles,
probably
or
do
one of
puppets.
three
I would be a
fictitious
puppet tuber.
could-have-beens. If you've got even a little news hound in you, you know the ship, you know the weapons, and you know the enemy. Hook a target and fire when ready.
Okay, I guess that they just got rid of the two people fighting. Maybe I don't like that. I don't.
My first look at Alien Legacy from Sierra was when
Does
I.
this have it? No, it's gone. Where'd you go? I love the arguing people.
Schlepping around the office with 88 full pages of instructions. To put it kindly, I had few expectations for a game requiring that much
Oh well, at least it's by
documentation.
Dynamics.
However, once I got beyond manual overload, I discovered a very enjoyable game.
You definitely have your hands full playing this
Oh,
game.
now
that's
they're
for
arguing.
Sure.
That's what I'm
Strategy
talking
games
about.
Keep getting more and more ambitious. At least Alien Legacy
Sorry, I
handles
bumped
itself well.
the
It
thing
dumps
with my
a lot of
head.
responsibility in your lap, but the game is very well organized and lets you have a good time being stressed out.
You're in command of a seed ship that has
I would be a
escaped an
terrible
interstellar
interviewer.
war
I'd
that
be
has
like,
wiped out the
"Hey,
planet
lady
Earth,
who
and your
parried
job
the
is to
chair
fix
at
it
Waffle
simple.
House. You like
Save
video
the human
game?"
race.
And she'd be like, "Yeah, I like
Luckily
video
for
game."
you,
And I'd be
Sierra's
like,
designers have
"I kind of
created
like
an
video
interface that
game."
makes it all possible.
And then
Once
that would
you
be.
get
I
the
would have
game,
nothing.
you can
I
move
don't.
from task to task
I
with
don't
the
know what I'd
greatest
ask
ease,
her other than
using
how
the
did you
general
do it,
options menu, which
and
pops up when you hit tab or the right mouse
do you
button.
have a new job? Because I know they
exaggerating
fired
a
you, and that
little
really
when I say this is
sucks.
the greatest thing since the invention of the hard drive, but not much.
That little go-to menu is about the best thing since sliced cheese. In a game as far-reaching and complex as Alien Legacy, you need a good interface to keep you from going insane and
Meteor
strangling
gun,
your
huh?
coworkers. But don't worry, I'll find an excuse to choke you later.
Now that I've embarrassed myself falling all over the interface
Yeah, Space
design,
Ghost was
I
a
feel it's only
VTuber, one of
fair
the
to warn you,
first.
This isn't a game to play if you've got a half hour to kill. It's complicated.
Yeah, this is definitely not a coffee break game. In fact, you may want to schedule a week-long vacation to get in some serious playtime. The game is fast-paced, but there's so much to do that you need a good chunk of time to accomplish anything. To compensate for this, you get a hell of a good return on the time invested.
You have a group of advisors who all seem to have one request: expand. It's actually good advice, since exploration is essential for your survival, but it's made extremely difficult by the fact that the resources you need are way scattered. You'll go through a case of Excedrin trying to overcome your supply problems.
Supply and transport, supply and transport. I'll be hearing that in my sleep for months to come. Whenever you start a colony, it always requires massive transfusions of supplies from more established areas. Once you venture off your starting planet, you'll also have to keep a close watch on the planet's orbits to give yourself a good launch window. That's one of the very few things I wish the game had included, an automatic sequence that launches your ships when a good launch window appears.
So there's nothing simple about playing Alien Legacy, but I couldn't care less. There's a fine line between challenging and impossible in games of this sort, but Sierra has produced one that's good enough to make the hard work of saving mankind seem worthwhile.
The one thing that's simple is the interface, and that's the most important part.
I like
had
this
an easy
interface a
time getting
lot.
into the
I
game
love the
because
nasty
at the start,
glove.
It's not too complicated. Boy, does that change. The time I've spent playing Alien Legacy has to be measured in days, not hours, and I'm still nowhere near the end. Its strongest selling point is that it's well worth the time and stress you'll put into it.
My
Check out
first
the pros.
Game designers take note. There's no need to force people to cycle through 4 menus to accomplish an essential task. The general options menu of this game, available at the touch of the tab key or the right mouse button, lets you go anywhere you want within the game with the greatest of ease. You're in command. Boy, does it take a long time to play this game. It's incredibly complicated, and it works pretty well, but some people might not be interested in getting involved with something this complex without a contract or an engagement ring.
Chat, would you marry a video game?
Art of Fighting 2 is, of course, the sequel to Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. Just checking. Actually, it's yet another fighting game for the Neo Geo. Assuming that you don't have the
Would
kind
you marry
of cash
Art of
it takes
Fighting
to amass
2?
a complete collection of Neo Geo kick and punch games, you may ask yourself, which one should I buy? The consensus among the IE fighting freaks is that Art of Fighting 2 is best suited for people with lots of money, lots of free time, and a martyr complex. Good fighting games share some common characteristics. Interesting characters, lots of power moves, easy to learn controls, a computer opponent with a smooth learning curve, fluid animation, attractive graphics, and bone-crushing sound. Unfortunately, Art of Fighting 2 doesn't score enough points in any of these categories to make the recommended list. Of the 12 characters, only Yuri is interesting enough to make me want to buy this game. Not a single Baraka, Wolf, or Major Bison among them. In fact, many of them have the same special moves and abilities and differ
Yeah, don't these
significantly
stills look
only in
amazing?
appearance. Although I am hardly a proponent of political correctness, I found the fact that the 2 female characters are sometimes prone to getting their shirts ripped open at the end pointless. Although Art of Fighting 2 does offer many power moves, as many as 7 per character, frankly, there's not enough variety. Of the 60 or so total moves, most are merely variations of about 10 basic moves. For example, 8 of the characters throw generic bolts of energy by quarter-spinning the joystick from down to forward and hitting A. This could be excused if it were in the interest of making it easy to move from character to character, but many of the moves are so difficult, there's no point
Major
of learning them
Bison,
anyway.
yeah. Don't you remember Major Bison? I love the VHS tape jitter.
Needless to
That's
say,
so
the computer
good.
opponent has no difficulty performing these moves. They also
Yeah,
have no
bro
problem
loves
countering
talking about
any
political
offensive action you try to
correctness.
take. This is an equation even my 80-year-old non-fighting game-playing, no MTV-watching grandma could figure out. Play against the computer, and the computer wins. Taken by themselves, none of these problems would completely kill a game if only it had good graphics and sound. Unfortunately, all of them combined with the clunky animation and so-so sound are fatal. In the game's defense, there are a few unique features that set it apart from the average fighting game. A rage gauge measures the amount of power you have left for special moves. You can reduce your opponent's rage by taunting them, and recover your own by holding down an attack button. This is neat, but silly. It
Same
also
year
has a
PCU
fairly
came
interesting
out,
background story to
Speaking
separate
of
it from the
Laserdiscs,
standard
I found out
tournament to
that
become fighting
the
gods of the
Doonesbury
world, kick and
animated
punch
special
game.
is on
Although if you
Laserdisc,
wanted
so
a good
now I
story,
definitely
you'd
need a
probably be
Laserdisc
playing an
player.
adventure game and not trying to bash someone's head in. Considering the current
What if
glut
I
of
wanna
kick
bat-
and punch
well, no, I
games,
don't wanna
no one
bash
should
any
feel
heads in.
obligated to buy them all. Considering that, I urge you to run, don't walk away from Art of Fighting 2. It's not horrible, but it's not anything great and certainly not worth $200. Pros? Absolutely nothing.
None.
Well, there is the rage gauge, which is cool in a Zen combat sort of way. It's not that this game is horrible or offends my sensibilities, it's just not very interesting. 178 megs of bland, semi-rancid Swiss cheese. What stinks about this game? Well, let's see. Graphics, sound, control, variety of characters, variety of special moves, a maniacal computer opponent that cheats. Well, you get the idea.
Sounds good. So, let's all play Art of Fighting 2.
Who is Robert Foster, and who wants to know?
Well, Robert himself would like a clue. In Beneath the Steel Sky from Virgin
Classic.
Interactive and
This
Revolution,
is a classic
he played
I've
the
heard of.
trench-coated Foster, a fugitive from what can only loosely be called
The
justice,
furry
in a
Dino of
dystopian future London
edutainment.
known as Union City. The pre-game plot
Well,
is
I
nicely
do
set up
try.
in an 8-page comic book written and drawn by fan favorite Dave Gibbons, best known for his work on DC's Watchmen back in the mid-80s. His newest book is Martha Washington Goes to War with Frank Miller, a sequel to Give Me Liberty.
Excuse me, are we talking about comics or games here, fanboy?
Let me
Fanboy.
finish. The included comic sets up Robert's history. The lone survivor of a helicopter crash at a tender age, he is raised by a tribe of primitive suburbians. These vagabonds teach him the skills necessary for surviving in the wasteland called The Gap.
Not to be confused with the popular clothing store of the same name. Speaking of clothes, Foster is certainly the snazziest dresser around as he grows into a young hero type. One of the skills he develops is robotics, and he constructs a wisecracking sidekick named Joey, who could probably use a quick kick in the side given some of his dialogue in the game.
Oh, come on. Joey was adorable. A mentor and helper not unlike Jiminy Cricket in Disney's Pinocchio.
Yeah, right. Jiminy Cricket with a welding torch and an attitude. So one critical day, a helicopter full of shock troops disrupts this pastoral life to supposedly take Robert home again. But history repeats for our hero. The copter crashes into the city and the game starts off with a bang. Literally.
Nice segue. As Foster, you are desperately trying to make sense of this new environment. All you start off with is the circuit board containing Joey's main intelligence and one angry security guard hot on your heels. As with most adventure games, you use information and objects gathered along the way to reach your ultimate goal. But first, you have to figure out what that goal is.
My initial guess was don't get killed, but I think it goes a bit further than that. Revolution describes the game
I
as
actually have
virtual
some of the
theater
Martha
and a great
Washington
advance in
Goes
the
to
field.
War comics
While I
because I
don't
got them in
completely
a
buy
quarter
that,
bin a
it is
million
quite easy
years
to move
ago.
around the city.
Never
which is
read
really
them,
what
but
he's
I have
building.
them somewhere.
Death is not exactly looming around every corner, but even that is a bit disturbing, because the Big Brother type computer, Link, seems to be keeping you around for some unknown reason.
Yeah, a lot of games claim to
The
have
computer's
an
keeping me
instinctive
around to
interface,
kiss
but
me.
I really didn't even have to read the book on this one.
You mean Fanboy didn't devour every page? I'm shocked.
Despite what may seem a stark and frightening scenario, the characters have been designed with a great deal of affection and humor. The dialogue is also genuinely funny, with most of the humor at the expense of bureaucracy and failed communication. It's amazing how much facial expression is available to come through with only a few pixels. While the character graphics may be somewhat limited, the game is visually very compelling. The appropriately
It was
menacing
artistic and
backgrounds
it's a
are also
magazine.
designed
It's
by Dave
fine.
Gibbons.
Let's try and squeeze his name in a few more times.
Yeah,
Dave
I'm going to
Gibbons,
jail
Dave
now.
Gibbons.
I
Look, we have
literally
to be
was
nice
looking
to
away
him.
for a
He was very
minute,
eager
and
to
in that
discuss his
time,
collaboration with game designer Charles Cecil in a recent IE phone interview.
Charles Cecil. Charles Cecil.
I've always been very interested in developments, comics obviously, and in other media. And I have a son who is now 14 who plays a lot of game, and it was an area that seemed interesting. So when Charles made the offer, I was quite interested to have a try. I think that the real fun is going to lie a bit further down the road when we get over our initial sort of gosh wow thing and just take it on board as another medium of expression. And I think interactive games will attract people from other media, and I just can't wait to see the kind of games that are going to be around in 10 years' time. They might not even seem like games, you know, they might seem like, I don't know, like life.
While Beneath the Steel Sky is nothing like life, it does have a very involved and interesting story and a lot of entertaining characters to chat with.
And some stunning visuals.
I know, by Dave Gibbons. Honestly, folks, you don't have to be a comic book maniac to enjoy this game.
But it doesn't hurt. While we play the European version, America will soon be treated to a CD-ROM version complete with full digitized speech. Dave also mentioned that plans are in the works for a sequel.
Rich backgrounds, interesting characters, and nearly instinctive controls make for a game that
I like abstract sculpture, but that's just me. There's an abstract sculpture on the UT campus called The West, and it literally looks like a pair of testicles with a bunch of pennies attached to it. It's so cool.
The convenience of the interface means you sacrifice play options. There will probably be many times when you want to ask another character something very specific, and you just can't. There's only one right way to get through.
Cannon fodder. This is there's a lot of good games on this one.
A soldier's duty is not to question why. It's just to do, or become cannon fodder. Europe has come alive in the last year, releasing a bunch of quality games, which of course is very much out of character for the chaps across the pond. One of the newer releases from the Virgin UK is a squad-level tactic arcade game called Cannon Fodder. In Cannon Fodder, you command a team of up to 6 soldiers. The objective is to conquer as many levels as possible while minimizing losses. Sounds simple, and it is, but it's far from easy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
Everything
the
you need to do
anti-European
accomplished
stuff
with
is
the mouse.
about.
Simply left-click on the spot where you would like your squad to be, and they will obey your command. To launch a fierce hailstorm of lead
Europe
at the
makes
enemy,
good
aim by
games
using the mouse cursor and click the right mouse button. Don't let the simplicity of the gameplay fool you. From a distance, this may appear to be a colorful version of Sim Ant, but take a closer look. These little guys in your squad can pack a powerful punch and can be armed with machine guns, rocket launchers, or grenades. At the beginning of each level or mission, you and your squad will be given the plan of attack. Whether it be a pure punitive assault meant only to annihilate
I just want
the
to say
enemy,
I'm
or
pro
a more
Europe.
destructive engagement with the intent
you
of
can
crushing
exist.
enemy installations, you and your men have a task to complete. When one mission is accomplished, another will take its place. The next is bound to be a little tougher and require more thought and less reflex time than the previous mission. When a soldier survives an engagement, he will be awarded a promotion. Given time, your lowly privates may rise as high in rank as general. When a soldier dies, his grave on Boot Hill will reflect his achieved rank. The highest-ranking officer in the squad receives all the points for kills with heavy weapons such as rocket launchers or grenades. Although it's not a realistic tactical simulation, and it isn't intended to be, Cannon Fodder offers an attractive alternative for those who may consider straight war games a little dull. Even some hardcore wargamers might find it enjoyable. It's a game that bridges the broad chasm between silly arcade and serious strategy.
There's no pros and cons. Boo! Okay, I want to see if the specs section mentioned. Okay. No, they just straight up got rid of the also try section. That's a shame. I really liked that. It was, I mean, I goofed on it, but I really liked seeing what other games I could play.
Malibu Comics has made a definite name for itself in the world of bams, bangs, and pals recently. Popular titles such as Prime and Firearm have taken center stage among the new breed of comic books. With the help of Davidson and Associates, they're about to take center stage yet again, this time on the PC with CD-ROMics. Rather than a simple paper-to-PC translation, CD-ROMics
yeah, we got
is
the
more
Freaks,
than
we got the Ultraverse.
Parts. You interact with it much like a Laserdisc movie, with the option to watch the comic. In this case, Freaks issue number 1. Narrated
Freaks
from beginning
issue
to
number
end,
1.
Or skip any part of it easily. The graphics in 640 by 480 VGA are marvelous and accompanied by terrific music and digitized voice for each of the characters. There isn't really any fluid animation included though, which is disappointing considering this is a CD and a far from full one at that. An animated scene or two would have definitely impressed the reader more and probably would have upped the replay value. Speaking of which, the economical decision to buy this comic on CD for the same price of buying a dozen on paper is beyond me.
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing.
Beautiful, but it's short. And unless one had a hefty entertainment budget, one would have to play CD-ROMics over and over before it could be considered a worthwhile purchase. One of the things that might justify paying CD-ROMics' $19 price is a special behind-the-scenes section accessible from the main menu. Here the creators of CD-ROMics introduce themselves and talk a bit about the production of the disc. This is a great idea that I'd love to see more CD-ROM titles include. I like this disc a lot, but my job allows me to review it without paying anything for it. Those of you who want a copy will have to plunk down $20. Should you do so, you'll find that CD-ROMics titles are very enjoyable indeed.
I wonder if this also has a... This has the pros and cons, but not cannon fodder? You're giving a pros and cons to Freaks and not cannon fodder. Freaks! Freaks is what, okay.
An innovative use of CD-ROM technology. CD-ROMics is the product of some excellent production and programming. All of the sounds and artwork are top-notch. Rather than a simple...
Okay.
Hey, it's a couple issues of a comic book on CD. If you think some Super NES games lack replay value, take a look at this.
What's with the dig on the SNES? I thought whatever. Alright. Next up, CPU Bach.
When Johann Sebastian Bach died in 1750, most people thought his tremendous musical talent was lost forever. Indeed, it was for some 200 years. But now, Sid Meier, the designer of Civilization, and Jeff Briggs, a noted composer, have teamed up to bring Bach's music back to life on the 3DO.
Okay.
CPU
3DO?
Bach is a computerized algorithm which will create new classical music based on Bach's style of composing. You can select a type of concert, such as party or reverie, and then adjust the use of instruments, tempo, etc. to create a totally original piece of music in Bach's style.
Huh.
While the music is playing, a number of options are available to select what appears on the screen. Options available include a musical kaleidoscope, musical analysis of what is playing, and that all-too-mandatory feature in a musical program, scrolling photos of nature. Perhaps the most stunning graphic mode is the 3D rendered concert setting, shown here. CPU Bach is a very interesting program, and your mileage with it may vary depending upon your opinion of
Yeah, it does
classical
seem
music.
a little familiar.
3DO
I guess we
original
played it
software
before.
with a lot of variety, and CPU Bach delivers on this promise. It's not so much a game as an experience. You don't interact with this program very much, but most of my time was spent listening to the music I created. Suffice to say, any classical music buff will go wild over CPU Bach.
This has pros and cons.
The most noteworthy part of CPU Bach is the fact that it can compose original music in the style of Bach, and this is a first. The graphics are excellent, and the music is very faithful to Bach's style. Also of special note is the excellent full-color manual.
And the cons?
I was a little disappointed with the quality of the music in CPU Bach. It's about equal in quality to a Roland card on the PC, but I wish the instrument samples sounded a little bit more true to life. I would also like to have a little bit more interaction. For example, a mode where you could actually place musical notes on a staff.
Okay. Well, looks like you got to get CPU Bach and get some AI-generated music going on. D-Day, beginning.
I'm not much of a war game
of the
player.
end.
As a result, I was willing to give Impressions D-Day, the beginning of the end, a lot of leeway. But the more I played it, the more frustrated I got. This doesn't seem so much a game as a history class supplement. Ugh.
Whenever I play a serious war game, I always end up asking myself the same question. Do the designers ever talk to their marketing department? In the case of D-Day, I would have to conclude that they wouldn't recognize each other if they had collided in the executive washroom.
The controls aren't exactly what you'd call instinctive. I went through the tutorial at an agonizing pace, and it didn't help much. Of course, if you've got the time, you can browse the 188 pages of supplementary material, including 46 pages on military history on Operation Overlord. Hey, that's putting the multi in multimedia.
I agree. The problem wasn't a lack of information. After slogging through the
Just want to say, putting the multi and multimedia would be a really good name for someone who's like plural.
You'll be able to understand
like a
this
tagline.
Game. To be fair, this game has plenty of detail to appeal to the war game aficionado. The standard game begins on June 6, 1944, when the Allies landed in Normandy, and continues until May 3, 1945, when Berlin fell. You can also select from 3 different historical scenarios. When you begin a battle, you can let the computer do all the work, or you can select the Micro Miniatures battle mode, which allows you to assume direct command of the army on a scrolling battlefield.
All the real action takes place in the aptly named Micro Miniatures phase, where your soldiers look more like
Look at them, they're itty bitty babies!
Even when they move. I sure hope the intent of this game was not to make World War II come alive in the mind of the player.
Suffice it to say that anybody who uses this option on a regular basis deserves a Purple Heart. The interface is only slightly less complicated than the operation of a nuclear power plant, and it turns a simple battle into a painfully long marathon.
Think of all the potential excitement and action in a game about war. Explosions, blood, roaring planes. What possibilities for a computer game, right? Wrong. This sucker is dry as a bone. While there are some good graphics, they're all stills of famous generals or generic soldiers, often
I like
with
the graphics. I don't
lengthy
know.
historical footnotes.
Historical detail is important in these types of games, but it would be nice if there were a few bones thrown to the potential player who might not be an amateur military historian. Unfortunately, like countless other war games,
only military
D-Day is
historians should be able to play
targeted
these.
to a very narrow audience. When the two of us get together to review a game, the hope is that we'll have a point-counterpoint type of exchange. But that just hasn't happened with this one. The feeling's unanimous. D-Day is simply a very boring game, unless your childhood idol was General Douglas MacArthur.
You said it. If countries had to use this game instead of real soldiers to fight wars, generals would all die of boredom, and the world would be a peaceful place.
Okay, so let's kill all the generals. Got it.
This could probably serve as the basis for a college history course on D-Day. The detail within the game itself is exhaustive, and the game's documentation includes an overview of Operation Overlord.
And cons?
Unless you're a World War II fanatic, this is incredibly boring. Even the parts that could have been exciting to the regular game player, such as the battles, are done in by poor interface design.
All right, well, we're not playing a D-Day apparently, because it's a big old stinker. There he is.
Dark Legions is SSI's new strategy arcade game in which you battle another player using traditional fantasy characters. You move your pieces on a strategic map, but combat is resolved in a top-down arcade screen.
Didn't SSI try that already with Archon Ultra?
Yeah, but that was a painful experience, so let's not talk about it.
Okay. Dark Legions isn't painful. It's awesome. Want to have a contest to see which of us likes it more?
No thanks. You drool too much when you get excited. While staying fairly simple, Dark Legion should accommodate a wide variety of playing styles.
Why do you drool?
You can play a quick game in an hour or less, but if you feel like getting a little more involved in
Pavlov's
the tactical
game
side of
reviewer.
things, you can do that too. Once you select the map you will play on, you go to the army building screen.
I like
Here
the
you
demon.
can set how much money you have, which determines how big an army you'll play with. Once you've set your cash, you purchase each unit you want until you run out of money. Remembering all the stats of the 16 characters can get a little dizzying, so if you click on their portrait in the buying screen, you'll get an in-depth profile of that character type. You can also flip to a screen that shows you your army at a glance.
Why are you spending so much time on the army build screen?
Because I'm trying to show them that this is a well-designed, user-friendly game.
Well, just say it.
It would sound stupid if I just said it. You try.
Okay. Bye, Dark Legions. You will like it.
It is good. It is a well-designed, user-friendly game.
Nice technique. The characters you play with are lots of fun and have tons of special powers. Demons are the overall bad boys of the game. Trolls are the big
Demons
ugly
are the overall bad
Water and
boys.
fire elementals are nasty and attack with, fire and water. Vampires paralyze you and relieve you of your blood. Wraiths are evil, undead things that rip you up. But there's a lot more to this game than just a straightforward attack. Wizards are weak in combat but have strong strategic value. Illusionists create beings which can dole out damage but can't take any. Conjurers summon additional characters. Orcs are good all-purpose infantry. Berserkers are light infantry and are good inexpensive scouts. Phantoms are invisible on the map. Seers can see traps and invisible or disguised characters. Templars heal your wounded. Thieves find and disarm traps, and shapeshifters
I do like
can
all these
assume
character
any
designs.
identity for combat. Controlling your army on the strategic map is a very simple affair. The regular cursor allows you to select a character and its destination. All possible destination squares for that character are highlighted to help you.
I'm just staring at the butts
switches
here.
the cursor between three modes,
I think they
movement,
should have better
special
butts,
power, and
honestly.
inspect. This lets you use the character's special abilities or get a closer look to see how it's doing health-wise.
Plus, you can see if the character's wearing any rings which improve its abilities. Clicking on those nasty-looking gargoyles brings up the options screen that lets you do all the boring stuff, like saving your game, looking at an overhead map, and switching to 2D view. This is easy to get to, but having an icon on the main screen for the overhead map would have been better.
Good point. In big games, you do refer to the overhead map a lot.
Well, I only threw it in there because you were whining about it so bad.
Whenever two players occupy the same square, they go into arcade-style combat. You view the battlefield from a zooming top-down perspective. Each character has 2 attacks, and some have a special 3rd attack. Why don't you talk about how much you like to kill things for a while?
Okay, I will. Killing things is great, and combat in Dark Legions is quick and a lot of fun. You can play with a keyboard, but a good arcade stick like the Gravis gamepad is really the way to go. You have to watch your stamina bar too, because if it drops too low, you won't be able to attack. How was that? Professional enough for you?
Yes, you did very well.
Well, I just had a steel rod implanted in my spine so I can be more like you.
I think Dark Legions is a great game. It takes a great premise and gives it new life. The characters are imaginative and beautifully drawn. Their powers are widely varied to provide lots of strategic options. This is one of those rare games that may appeal to beer and pretzel wargamers as well as fantasy fans.
If you mean those guys who sit around playing Clash of Steel all day, yeah, they might like it too. A map icon on the strategy map should have been there, but everything else about this game is pretty awesome. Buy it, but get it on CD, because it's absolutely huge.
Dark Legions is... The graphics are beautifully drawn, and each character has its own animation for moving on the strategy map.
Yeah, I
The game
kind
setup
of
is
like
highly
that the
flexible,
reviewers,
allowing you
instead
to
of
play a
having the
quick game
second
or a long tactically
opinion,
involving
they just
war.
argue with
The
each
combat
other.
sequences are quick and exciting, and all the characters' attacks actually work, unlike Archon Ultra.
And the cons.
The Buy Army screen should inform you of the unit's prices before you buy them, even though you can always sell it back. Games on large maps require frequent peeks at the overhead map, so the icon for this function would have been more convenient if placed on the strategic map screen.
Okay, it's happening, folks. Can't I just look at Fatal Fury 2? Hollywood Mogul, right? All right, here we go. Dennis Miller.
Straight from the comedic stage of Saturday Night Live, and now the star of a talk show on HBO, it's no wonder Dennis Miller is using his comedy to attack a new medium, interactive. Sadly, Dennis's attack on 3DO leaves a lot of damage behind. Miller's new 3DO, IBM CD, and Mac CD title, That's News to Me, is supposed to mesh the news of 1993 with comedy, similar to his Weekend Update segment on Saturday Night Live. User interaction is very limited. You simply choose the joke you want to hear, and Miller tells it. This click and hear concept would be okay if the humor was up to par, but it's soon apparent that the comedy falls well short of its goal. It doesn't help that the news is dated back to early 1993, and most of the jokes are one-liners. The jokes are about as funny as flossing with razor wire. For example,
it's reported, however, that an impressive stockpile of jokes about Ditka's grotesquely oversized melon of a head will continue to be passed quietly in Chicago's humor underground. So long.
I enjoyed Dennis Miller's humor on Saturday Night Live, but the caliber of comedy on this CD is not what I would expect of Miller. The fact is, this product kept me interested for only an hour. The user interaction is so limited that you will probably fall asleep at the control panel before you come to your senses and return this bomb to the store. Instead, go rent one of Miller's comedy videos. They're funnier and cheaper.
Okay. Wasn't so bad. Let's see if it's got. It has cannon fodder, no pros and cons. But Dennis Miller's that's news to me. You have to learn
The
about.
full motion video of Miller reading the jokes is well done, as you might expect with a 3DO product. Some of the jokes are good, though not great, and the interface, well, lack of interface, is very easy to control.
And the cons? I don't think she liked this.
The humor is poor, the replay value is 0, the interest level is below normal, and it will probably bore you after a few hours. Need I say more?
Okay, that's a big old fat 0 for Dennis Miller's. That's news to me. It's done. I can go to Fatal Fury 2. I'm so happy.
I've always been told that I should learn from my mistakes. Apparently, Takara Incorporated has been on the receiving end of that advice as well. Unlike me, however, they've listened, knowing that Fatal Fury 2 for the Super NES had to be much better than the original.
The Super NES?
In the fighting game field. Takara pulled out all the stops. Almost. What sets Fatal Fury 2 apart from its predecessor? Well, it's faster and the control pad is more responsive. And did I mention it's faster? Fatal Fury 1 lacked both speed and control in a big way. Fatal Fury 2 does not. What sets it apart from, say, Street Fighter 2 Turbo? From a playability standpoint, surprisingly, not a whole heck of a lot. For those of you who can't believe I would equate Street Fighter 2 Turbo to another SNES fighting game, hold your horses. Fatal Fury 2 has some enjoyable features which Street Fighter 2 Turbo does not. Specifically, I like the 2-player elimination mode in which you compile a list of the game's characters and then duke it out one-on-one until you or your opponent run out of fighters. Also, the Fatal Fury series trademark dual-plane battlefield is here. Fighters can move from front to back as well as from left to right. The detailed animated backgrounds, while obviously inferior to those on the Neo Geo version, look great for an SNES game. Sound quality suffers a bit though, and can someone please tell me why fighting games, this one in particular, lack a speed setting? Unless Takara plans on coming out with Fatal Fury 2 Turbo in the near future, this omission is severe. Otherwise, Fatal Fury 2 has been worth the wait. It's your typical fighting game made unique by some imaginative designing.
This gets pros and cons. That's fair.
Give this game a joystick and it feels almost exactly like the popular Neo Geo arcade version. Takara's translation is wonderful. They managed to squeeze in every important detail. Fatal Fury 2 is fun to play and requires more technique than its predecessor.
And the cons?
Speed freaks will return from Street Fighter 2 Turbo after a couple of bouts with Fatal Fury 2, as it still doesn't move as fluidly as it should. You need a code to play as the bosses, too.
Okay. See what they say about Fatal Fury Special.
If you own a Neo Geo, chances are you enjoy fighting games. You may even have played Fatal Fury and its aptly named sequel, Fatal Fury 2. If so, you may be wondering why SNK thinks you should drop another $200 on the third game in the series. You have nearly twice as many fighters as Fatal Fury 2 to choose from, ranging from the brash Cockney Bill Kane to Tung Fu Roo, which sounds rather like a meat sauce to me. There is, of course, Mai Shiranui, the token female, and a breakdancer named
Mai Shiranui.
Has anybody breakdanced any time in the last decade? The game features a wide variety of special moves, at least 4 moves detailed in the manual, and 1 hidden move for each character. What's more, each character in Fatal Fury Special has a unique fighting style, with different blows for each of the 2 kick and punch buttons. These special moves, although very similar to those found in arcade fighting games, are often difficult to execute, even for the Mortal Kombat freaks on the IE staff. The Neo Geo's outdated controllers don't have the response or feel of an arcade machine, and more than once a voice was heard crying out, "Where's my block button?" For $200, you should get your eyes and ears worth. And in this area, Fatal Fury delivered.
It wasn't that
like
bad?
Most Neo Geo games, the graphics, sound, and music are far superior to anything the 16-bit systems can produce. The backdrops to all the fighting stages are complex and visually impressive, and scroll smoothly without slowdown. The sound effects are a cut above most fighting games, and the music is excellent throughout. The rendition of Mozart's Requiem on Wolfgang Protzer's home stage is superior to any game music I've ever heard, which didn't come off a CD. Not bad for a gamer. Fatal Fury Special is definitely a game for 2 human players. Even on beginner level, the computer opponent seems to know what you're doing even before you do, and will counter it before you're finished doing it. And don't even think about trying the more difficult computer opponents unless you have the fighting skills of a Zen master and the reflexes of a hyperactive 12-year-old jolt addict. Some of the characters are especially fun to play because of their unusual moves. The good news is this includes about half the characters. The bad news is the other characters range from Street Fighter II knockoff to lengthy oral surgery without anesthetic on the fun-to-play scale. Even so, it will be a very long time before you master all of the special moves in this
pulling
game. Once you're past
literalist
the
mode.
initial
It's not
hurdle
that
in buying
bad.
this game, that's the $200 price tag, there's still plenty to recommend about it. It's at its best when you're playing against another human opponent, but retired Art of Fighting 2 players looking for a new challenge may find it here. Still, I can't help thinking that for $100 more than the cost of this cart, you could buy a Jaguar system and reserve a copy of Mortal Kombat 2. However, if the money is burning a hole in your pocket, Fatal Fury Special should definitely keep you occupied for, say, the next several months. Like all Neo Geo games, Fatal Fury Special has a lot going for it. The graphics and animation are excellent, on a par with arcade standards. The music is superb in places, and the wide variety of characters should provide something to satisfy every mutant out there.
All right, mutants, go play your Fatal Fury
Like
Special.
all Neo Geo games, Fatal Fury Special has one major con: the price tag. Trying to pull some of the special moves will quickly make you a hair club client with a bad case of carpal tunnel syndrome. If you're a novice to fighting games, don't even think about challenging the computer. Stick to human foes, preferably your grandparents.
Okay. I guess the worst thing about this game is that the computer will whip your ass. Formula 1 GP.
Formula 1 from Domark is not the complex racing simulation which seems to be dominating the racing game market these days. In fact, Formula 1 is not intended to be a trend-setting game, but what it does have to offer will draw the attention of anyone interested in driving or racing simulations. Don't be fooled by the fact that Formula 1 hit the macadam on the Sega Genesis before being brought to the PC. The reason Formula 1 is being ported to the PC is simple. It is fast. In fact, it is one of the fastest racing games I've ever seen. When your speedometer hits the 200-mile-per-hour mark, it really gives you the illusion that you are going that fast, if not faster. Formula 1 offers several tracks to
let's
choose
just
from,
all buy
and gives you just
Jaguars
the bare
instead.
essentials of car setup to deal with. You can modify 3 aspects of your setup: the rear wing positioning, transmission type, and tire hardness. The actual racing is not the only fast feature about the game. Installation time and the time required to get into it are almost non-existent. Another great feature of Formula 1 is the responsiveness of the keyboard controls. This is one of the very few racing games where keyboard control is a realistic option. Formula 1 also handles well with a joystick, so there's no real need for an expensive driving controller. What Formula 1 lacks in graphic sophistication and in-depth options is more than made up for by its speed and ease of play. The car may not handle exactly like a real car, but the control is consistent and easy to get along with. Formula 1 isn't the most realistic driving sim I've ever played, just the fastest.
Hey, fast game.
Formula 1 is really fast. The controls are easy to use and consistent, and the simplicity
Think this
may
game
appeal
is
to
fast,
people who aren't
folks?
die-hard racing fans. Oh, and did I mention it's fast? The graphics are only average, and the game is too simple to appeal to real racing buffs. This one's only for the arcade speed freaks, unfortunately.
All right, speed freaks, you know what you need to play. Grandest Fleet.
QQP's The Grandest Fleet manages to keep its sense of humor while working within a traditionally dry format, the war game. This game puts you smack in the middle of the Falklands campaign, or in one of 8 other historical battles. You aren't bound to follow any of the actual history, though. The only thing that stays consistent is the geography.
No!
If that bores you, you can make stuff up. Pick a flag and go for it.
Making stuff up is a definite asset in this game, which is extremely flexible. I also enjoyed the fact that developing the cities under your control is one of the keys to success.
The strategy element is traditional, based on firepower, movement, the limitations of each ship, and the developments of your cities. But the interface is easy for newbies like me to figure out, except for a few cryptic abbreviations that don't make much difference in actual gameplay.
It's easy to move your ships around, but I feel the interface is lacking when it comes to tracking your opponents. I can live with the notion that you can't see them until they get within a certain range, but the way they mystically appear out of nowhere makes me wonder whether they've been equipped with Romulan cloaking devices.
Really, the only problem I had with the game was keeping track of who was doing what to whom. The two opposing colors are not distinct enough at all. You're stuck with gray versus tan, and I got confused all too often.
It certainly was an interesting choice of colors. I would hate to think
They
that
should
I
make
missed
a
another trend
Twitch
and that
action
gray and tan
arcade
has
sim
become the hot
of
new
the Falkland
graphics colors
Islands
without my
invasion.
knowing it.
To further muddle my brain, you are almost always required to fire off your own shots, except for sometimes when the computer does it for you, and I still don't know why or when. As with most strategy games, it is possible to make the computer as stupid as you are, or, as I first chose, much stupider. But even getting your butt kicked is kind of fun.
I couldn't
Tommy's
help but
won.
notice that you took the wimp's way out and began
Tommy's
playing
won.
somewhere around level 1. This wouldn't have bothered me if it wasn't for the fact that the designers went to the trouble to put in 21 artificial intelligence levels, and you immediately went for the lowest common denominator.
Hey, you think it's easy for a programmer to make a computer that stupid? I was impressed. There's lots of nifty explosion graphics,
Hey, I like
bangs and
this.
flashes,
Shark's gonna
and
eat you
occasionally
from
a picture of
above.
a guy in an inner tube getting attacked by a shark. Now this is my kind of game.
That guy became shark bait because his ship got blown out of the water. But hey, that's life on the high seas. The graphics make a lot of sense, and
The
the
shark
whole
is coming
design
from the
easy to
sky,
work with.
y'all.
You always know what enemy ships are within range, and the amount of damage you need to inflict to destroy them is right there on the screen where you can see it. On the whole, logic rules in the grandest
There's
fleet.
a lot
The
I don't know
warfare
about the
element is
Falkland
fun because
Islands,
It's easy to
I
understand
guess.
and command. Managing your cities is a little more complicated, but it should be tougher.
Yeah,
because it's the most
Toaplan warned us
important
about
part
the
of
Sky
game.
Sharks.
The Grandest Fleet is a very odd thing. A naval warfare game that really lives up to the potential of the computer medium. I know it's trite, but I have to say it. This is a war game that is made for people who hate war games. The lighthearted approach to what is often a painfully dry genre really made this war game stand out in my mind. The graphics are excellent. The turrets on the boats even turn to destroy their opponents. The interface was easy to pick up and versatile as well. And while the music added nicely to the mood, it is one of the very few computer games I've seen that knows when to shut up. I like that. You aren't bound to
I get it. I get it.
I
The
don't
cons.
think I'm going colorblind, but I could never tell for sure which ships were mine and which ships were the enemies based on the gray and tan distinction. Why not pick two colors that are really different from each other? Would Navy buffs really get that upset at the sight of a bright green vessel?
Yes, and they would send you angry letters, dude. Hollywood Mogul.
If Variety, the Bible of the movie industry, were to review Hollywood Mogul from Divuono Games, the headline would no doubt read, Tinseltown Sim Short on Sizzle. The basic foundation of this business simulation is solid, but it has none of the glitter and flash that you would expect from a release that prominently features Hollywood in its title. It's a shame that the game is so limited because everything that's included is well done. You're in charge of a movie studio with a set amount of cash to build a production schedule from scratch. As you rub elbows with producers, directors, screenwriters, and the agents of the stars you're trying to hire for your films, you discover that spending a lot of money doesn't guarantee that the movie-going public will flock to see your flick. Where
Wrong.
this game falls apart is its overall look. The graphics are painfully simple and there isn't any sound, making you wish that the designers had brought in a
Well, it's
special
because
effects
you're
team
not
to spice
paying
things
Cheryl
up. Given the
Cottonwood.
lack of any visual pyrotechnics, all you're left with is a good management game that's pretty boring to look at. It's not that the game doesn't have an attitude. As the head of the studio, you quickly discover that your underlings are yes men who always, and I mean always, agree with what you say. You spend a lot of time doing lunch, and you can make your movies as sexy and violent as you wish.
I want to
However,
make them
power
super
lunches
nude. I
can't make
want
up for the fact
the
that this game
world's.
looks
I'm going to
boring.
show a
I can
form
only
of
give this
nudity in
2
films they have
stars
never
out of
seen
possible 4.
before.
Better luck
A
next
neuter
time,
than
babe.
nude man. I have a lot to say about that. I think I got pros and cons for this.
You're in complete charge of making movies, from commissioning the screenplay to approving the release
Yeah,
date. There's a lot
ultra
involved.
nudity.
The game format is simple, easy to use, and lends all the help you need when you make a mistake.
And the cons?
Thank God, Hollywood doesn't look this drab. This game only comes on one disc, and it's obvious that the designers took up all the available space with the business simulation. The graphics are boring, and there isn't any sound.
Last review of the day, it's Inca 2.
Okay, let's get it out of the way. Inca 2 has some of the best graphics you will see this year. But there's a lot more to say about this new game from Sierra, and almost no one says anything except that it looks great.
Well, there's no denying it does look great. Sometimes it even sounds great, but this doesn't take away from the fact that what we've got here is a fundamentally weird piece of work.
Inca 2 is, to no one's surprise, the sequel to Inca, where for some reason the Incan civilization not only still exists 500 years in the future, but they've colonized space. The hero's named El Dorado, and he's back again in the new game.
El Dorado is a cool character with his
Cool
gold mask
El
and his
Dorado.
deep resonant voice. It's really a shame that you start out the game playing his son instead.
Yes, the fruit of El Dorado's loins is named Atahualpa, and the instruction book describes him as charming, handsome, and impulsive. These are not exactly the adjectives I would have chosen.
Yeah, me too. I tend to lean more toward nasal voice, funny looking, and dangerously unstable.
Come to think of it, he's not exactly a chip off the old block. I wonder what Mrs. El Dorado was up to while hubby was off conquering the universe.
Excuse me?
El Dorado and friends are planning to destroy a mysterious asteroid that has come a bit too close to the homeworld, and Atahualpa gets involved and ends up starting a galactic war. It figures.
And in case you're wondering whether you have any input into this situation, forget about it. All you're asked to do is occasionally solve relatively simple puzzles and then sit back and watch the stupidity.
Well, that's not entirely true. You also have to fly into arcade-style combat every now and then. And however easy those puzzles are, the space flights are really rough.
I noticed that too. The combat sequences are much harder than the very basic puzzles. And don't forget that this is a game that prides itself on being evenly divided between strategy and action.
Actually, there is one nice thing about the combat being difficult. When I played, it wasn't long before I was blown to smithereens. One usually wouldn't consider that to be a good thing, but what it meant was that the annoying Atahualpa was toast with a lowercase t, and now I was playing the eminently cooler El Dorado.
That's kind of twisted, guy, but I couldn't take the Inspector Gadget-esque voice for very long either.
One truly annoying aspect of this game is that sometimes combat stops dead so that another plot element can be inserted by our intrepid cast. Forget the fact that you're a tad involved in not getting your butt blown off. We've got to get back to the plot.
Actually, while we're on the subject of the quote, dramatic elements, unquote, it's probably worth mentioning that the voice actors have all the talent of the cast of Speed Racer.
Funny you should mention Speed Racer.
Hey,
because despite the odd cultural
take
mix
that back,
in the
lady.
game's
Speed
storyline,
Racer's
the
voice
goofy
acting was
voices
fine
and
for the
strange
time.
inflections, coupled with the fact that the speech never comes close to matching lip movements, had me thinking of dubbed Japanese monster movies.
Camera is friend to all children. Actually, the thing
Don't
that
do
really
that, lady.
surprised me is that despite all of these huge problems, I enjoyed this game. Well, I mean, no, I didn't care about the characters or the
I like the
storyline, but I was having a
kangaroos.
good time laughing at it. Anyone who appreciates a really bad movie might really enjoy Inca 2.
I think the word you're looking for is goofy, and I'm not sure whether it's what the programmers had in mind or not. But the simple fact remains that however frustrated you may get with the gameplay, or lack thereof, Inca 2 continues to amuse you in unexpected ways. It's definitely not for everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's just plain weird.
Okay. Look at Jurassic Park Interactive. That guy looks great. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 more pages of stuff to do. So we're going to do that another time. But that's part 1 of Interactive Entertainment, issue 3. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. Actually, I'm kind of curious what's on. Okay, we got some stuff here. We'll go to that later. All right, and that is part 1 of Interactive Entertainment 03. Let's oh yeah, I forgot it's Sequest. Let's shut down Sequest. Yeah.
Confirmed. Thermonuclear launch authorized.
Oh. Well, I just launched thermonuclear weapons, so that's cool. All right, we're going to intermission, and when we come back, I'm going to go through 2 more episodes of Dotto's Data Cafe. Dotto on Data, not Dotto's Data Cafe. That's another show. But we're going to do more Dotto on Data, so look forward to that. And I'll see y'all in about 10 minutes. Ooh. Ooh. Hey, we finished Nature Quest Mountain Magic. We went through the whole tape. I don't think I've ever been through a whole ass tape before on stream, but yeah, that was Nature Quest Mountain Magic. Thank you to the new follows to 8 Flying Cars and Boot Black and good names. Oh boy, next up, it is time for more Dotto on Data. We have 3 episodes left. I'm only doing 2 today. I'll do the final episode another time, but it's time to learn more about computer data and the Mac with our Canadian public TV friend, Dotto.
I got him. Die! Hey, I'm through. I think I'm close to bonus points.
Hey, Bob, welcome. You missed Interactive Entertainment issue 03. The best thing was probably Dennis Miller, which they hated.
Hello. Yeah, here he is.
Take him. Hello.
Dotto is gamer now.
We're rolling? Right now? We're rolling.
Okay.
Thanks, George. Hello there, and welcome to the 6th installment of Dotto on Data. I'm your host, Steve Dotto, and today
Hi, Steve.
We're going to take a look at some of the more entertainment-oriented applications of computer data, particularly music and animation. With me to talk about music is my guest from Roland, Canada, Paul McKay. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Nice to be here.
Paul, when I think about music, the first thing that leaps into my mind is not that it's a form of data, but it is.
It actually is, yeah. It's just streams of numbers stored in computer memory on hard disk.
Okay, now we hear about 2 different types of music or audio stored digitally. One of them is digital audio, and the other is something called MIDI, which I got to admit a lot of ignorance on.
Well,
I have to admit that I have ignorance on the MIDI.
Basically is a process by which a sound wave is measured, and those measurements are stored in computer memory. Okay. To hear digital audio back, they just take all of those numbers and reconvert them, reconstruct the sound wave from the measurements.
And is that analog?
That's
Cambrian era? This actually is a lot like this whole
MIDI
house
stands
for
for
computers,
musical
and
instrument
specifically the
digital
Mac,
interface.
yeah.
And MIDI itself doesn't actually transmit sound back and forth to whatever happens to be listening. MIDI is kind of like a programming language or an instruction set that represents notes played on a keyboard or on a MIDI guitar or on a MIDI drum set or whatnot. In other words, if I play a note on a MIDI keyboard, the sound actually isn't sent to the computer or to another MIDI device that happens to be hooked up to it. A stream of numbers representing the note I played, how long I held it for, how hard I hit it, is all sent over the MIDI cable, and that's what gets sent and stored.
The benefit from one over the other is really size of data.
That's exactly right.
The size that the file takes up. How much space would a 1-minute file in analog audio take up on a hard disk, say?
Digital audio is typically, at CD quality, is about 10 megabytes per minute.
10 megabytes a minute. So not too long ago, a 20 megabyte hard drive was a big
10
hard drive to
megabytes
have
a
at, say, a
minute?
home office or for a home computer. So you could store 2 minutes of audio at full CD quality on the older hard drives.
If all you were putting was music on that hard drive, that's right. Of course, that doesn't leave any
Yeah,
room for
he's
any
got a
programs or
laser
anything
disc, a
like
3M
that
laser
either,
disc back there.
Now,
I want to know what it is so
MIDI
bad.
information
I
for the
want to know about
same
that laser
amount of
disc.
information, what happens?
Reduce the size down to about 1K.
Holy. So why would I ever use digitized audio then?
Well, digitized audio, there are certain things that can't be represented, certain sounds that we can't represent through using MIDI. For example, the human voice, we can't trigger over MIDI necessarily. There are ways, but it's not necessarily practical. It's not like recording your voice to an analog cassette and then playing it back.
Okay.
Digital audio gives us that convenience, usually depending on the front end of the software that you're using for digital audio. It works just like a tape deck. You can record in, whether it be a guitar part or your voice or an acoustic instrument, acoustic drum set.
See, there it is behind the 3M.
And then play
What
it
is
back.
it? What lasers
Super.
do you have?
So I guess the ideal
Is it the
studio is gonna
Doonesbury
have a little bit
special?
of the analog to digital side and a little bit of the MIDI side. They're going to have the ability to do both.
That's right. Generally speaking,
You hiding some 70s
studios
animation behind
will
you?
have fairly
Show me.
comprehensive digital audio setups. Plus, they'll have a big rack of MIDI equipment and usually computers to control and synchronize the two.
Okay, well, my basement here is not a studio, but we do have a project that we have to do that's going to be ultimately for broadcast.
Right.
We're building the soundtracks. I've asked Paul to come in to help me with the soundtracks for the show, for little stingers in and out of my little intros and that sort of stuff. And you've got some ideas of some ways that we can produce some music that we can use for the show.
Absolutely. The music that we're going to use for the show is basically all going to be MIDI information. And we're going to use a software program we call, in music, we call it a sequencer. And a sequencer, the best way I can describe it, it's like a musical word processor. Because
Okay,
this
that's
MIDI
not a bad way to
information,
describe a
we're going to
sequencer.
put a little box called a MIDI interface kind of in between our MIDI keyboard and the Macintosh computer that's going to allow the Macintosh to look at this MIDI information coming in and store it to its hard disk or keep it in memory. The sequencing software that will be running on the computer basically allows us to make the same kind of changes to music that we would to text that we've typed in on a word processor. So we can go in and correct our musical spelling mistakes or rearrange the order of a paragraph, things like that. We'll have a look at that.
Now, what equipment have we got here to make this happen?
To get all that working, I mentioned the MIDI interface. This keyboard here is a dummy keyboard. We call it a controller keyboard. It actually has no sounds in it whatsoever. It's kind of the musical equivalent of the keyboard that we use for the Macintosh, where it doesn't have any computing power per se built into it. Same idea with this. All it's used for is to generate these MIDI instructions over a MIDI cable. Now, the MIDI cable can be connected to many different things. In this case, the MIDI cable coming out of the keyboard here is connected to a little MIDI interface box that is then plugged into either the modem or printer port on the Macintosh.
So that's how they talk to each other.
Exactly. The Macintosh can then speak back out over that
Yeah, I
serial
like that
connection
Roland,
cable over the modem
MIDI.
or printer port.
I want it.
And that information the Macintosh is then sending is going to come into this little box here, which is called a sound module or a tone generator. And the best way to describe this, I think, is to think of this, if you're familiar or comfortable with like an electronic keyboard that has its sounds built in and everything. A sound module is like an electronic keyboard without the keyboard itself. In other words, it's got all of its sounds built in and all of this sound generation capability. But to actually play the sounds, instead of using a keyboard directly connected to it, it looks for MIDI information coming in.
Yeah, we need more electronics with black electronics
sure,
with
why
amber
not?
displays. I completely
in
agree.
this case,
Bring
in
that
the
back.
analogy of the printer that you use,
gimme.
where we have several different fonts that will kind of dictate what our printed output looks like. This little box here in particular, the sound canvas, has over 350 fonts. In this case, they're instrument sounds that will
so
dictate
instead of
what
Helvetica, we've got clarinet. Instead of Times, we have trumpet.
That's how I've always thought of it.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's get on to some music happening here then.
Sure. Did you want to go into the sequencer program? Is that the idea?
Well, let's get started.
The impact font would be orchestra hits, IMHO.
Yeah, why don't we do that then? We'll go into our sequencer program. And again, this is kind of like our musical word processor that allows us to make all of our changes. Up here is our typing area, if you want to think of it like that. And we have a menu bar, just like we would in a word processor, up along the top of the screen. And down here, at the bottom part of the screen, it might look a little bit more familiar to people who've worked with cassette recorders or multi-track tape decks.
Yeah.
That's the area where we can record, tell the sequencer that we're actually recording something, fast forward and rewind through the music, just play things back and whatnot. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a little starting file. I've created a template that we're going to use. That basically just sets up all of the different sounds on the different tracks. On a multi-track cassette recorder,
It's so cool seeing
we
this
can
ancient
have, guitar
tracker.
on one particular audio track, bass on another audio track, etc., etc. To make MIDI easy to work with, typically a sequencing software program is designed to work the same way, so that it's not too foreign.
No, that's
for people
fair.
who are
The
more
Amiga
comfortable
was
with
very
working
advanced
with
comparatively.
multi-track tape decks and whatnot. So as we go down the left side of the screen here, you'll see that up on track 1 we have a string sound, we have synthesizer bass sounds, et cetera, et cetera. To start off with, usually when I'm building a piece of music, I start off with some sort of percussion part that gives me kind of a timing reference that I can work from to build the rest of the music up on. In this particular case, I've got a little hi-hat part played in. We'll hear in just a second here. Okay. Now this hi-hat part is what I'm going to use to layer the rest of the instruments up. So all I have to do is we're going to actually just go down to a track here, and we're going to name our track. We're going to put in a kick drum, and oops.
You missed the beat. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to put a kick drum in and a snare drum.
Okay.
So we name that. We've got that set up, and we tell it that we want to record on that particular track, and now. Okay, I can't hear that too well. We have all the different drum sounds, okay? Right across the keyboard itself. We can turn on a click track to play along in time with as well over top of the hi-hats.
So that'll kind of set a rhythm like a metronome.
That's exactly right. And then I just click on the record button, just like on our tape deck, and I'm going to hear about one bar or one period of music where I don't play, and then I just start.
That's to get you to tell you the time. Okay.
Exactly. So we'll start in. Okay, and we have our piece of music played in, and as you can see on the screen here now, we've got all these little black dots
like
that
how
represent each
astonished
bar of
Dotto
music that
is.
we've played in.
So that's like words in a word processor.
That's exactly right. And we're going to see in a second how I can start to move all of that stuff around. If I just click on the space bar now, that'll start playing. We can turn the click track off. So this is just a hi-hat part that we're going to use as a reference for playing over top of and build up the musical composition. We're also going to add a click track in a second. The hi-hat gives us something a little more musical or a little more in context to play with. So I think we'll probably start by adding a kick drum part and a snare drum part. So if you want to put, just type in bass and snare.
Wow, nice to know I can help.
There we are, and we'll get that track ready to record. Now down on the bottom of the screen, just like on a tape deck, I click on the record button. We're going to hear a bar of pretty much nothing, then we'll overdub or play over top of and get the kick and snare drum part happening.
So you're going to turn on your click track to help you with that?
I am going to do that. Thank you very much.
Good.
Gotta remind him to use a click track. Dotto's grooving.
It's all I can do to stay in my seat right now and not jump up and start dancing.
I love you, Dotto. Never change.
Fantastic.
So now
that was. Do you need a sense of rhythm to do this?
It certainly helps if you're playing in drum parts. There's several different ways.
Do you gotta know
get around
music
that.
to
We have
make
software now
music? Technically,
that
no.
will provide a lot of the rhythmic accompaniment for you, and you just tell it what chords to play and whatnot.
Is there the equivalent of clip art? Like we have clip art in the graphics end where we can, take a picture of a duck if you happen to want a duck. Is there a clip art for this music?
Yeah, it's actually a good point. We call it clip music. You can get CD-ROMs that have digital audio or MIDI music that
Most
you can
people
just
call
drop
that
into
samples.
a presentation, if you're using Macromind Director or something like that.
For the musically challenged.
For the musically challenged, that's right.
Great.
Okay, so we can listen back to the part that I just played there.
Okay.
Turn off the click track. Now, even somebody who's practiced playing drums in from a keyboard and whatnot can use some help every once in a while. I am certainly one of those people. So over in our little musical spreadsheet over here, I'm just going to highlight the part that I played in, and we're going to use a little function called quantize, and quantize is a computer term that means correct. I've been known to fall back on this every once in a while. I only wish it extended outside of the music world. But in any case...
So this is like a spell checker for rhythm.
That's exactly right. You could think of it just like that. I have now corrected the timing of that drum part, so if we listen to it back now, the kick and snare... magically in time now. So we've got hi-hats and we've got bass drum and snare drum on the track now. I think we should probably add a little bit of a melodic element. In this particular piece for the theme, we're going to play some guitar over top of them. We're just going to play a little muted or a funky guitar part over top of the drums that we've got going here now. So we'll turn our click back on. And we'll get ready to record.
Oh, yeah. I do love Dotto's mullet. He's so good.
Okay. Now if we play that back, we'll turn our click track off.
This is a result
now, just like
screen
I did with
jam.
with the kick and the snare drum parts, we can do much the same thing to our guitar part. We can correct the timing so that it plays in sync with the bass drum and snare drum and the hi-hat. So the same function exactly on a different piece of music now. Instead of drums, we're doing it on a musical part. Not to say that drummers aren't musical.
Paul, you're doing it to the reverse cymbal.
Very good. I'm glad that you pointed that out.
And I didn't even go to Juilliard.
I eat there often, actually.
I always wonder what those julienne fries are, those things that they make. Did that come from Juilliard, too?
Very likely, actually. So if we play this particular part back now.
Dotto, only you would mention. That's beautiful. Never change. I love Dotto.
Now we've got the timing corrected there. Now, similar to, again, using the analogy of the musical word processor, like you can on a word processor, copy a section of text, put it into the clipboard, move it down to another part, and then paste it to a different section of our document. We can do the exact same thing now with our musical word processor or the sequencer. I've got that particular muted guitar part highlighted now. Same commands as I would on a word processor. I can copy it to the clipboard, and we're going to create a bass part out of nowhere from that guitar part by just pasting it up here. Now, if I were to keep it just as it is right now, it would play exactly in unison or at the same pitch as the guitar. Of course, bass is in a lower octave, so we can also do transposition without having to play another note. We're going to drop this all down 2 octaves.
My transposition is sitting down right
So
now.
now it'll play as if you're playing the exact same notes, but 2 octaves lower.
If I did everything right and highlighted the right tracks, which I've been known not to do, we should have a bass part playing as well. Playing right in time with the guitar part. And the great thing here is that, as you can see now, without having to play in parts over and over again, I can, once I've got the music into the computer, I can build up parts from what's already there and use it just like the word processor.
And you don't have to go just octaves. You could just go a few notes and build chords that way and that sort of
Certainly
thing
you could. You could create harmonies to melody lines and all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh.
In our sound modules, over and above these musical instrument type sounds, we have effect sounds as well. We're going to go and add a little orchestra hit
Yeah, orchestra
here
hits.
as well now.
Wow.
And let's get this happening.
People are going to think we had a whole orchestra work on it.
Honestly, sounds good. Yeah, it's impact fun. Do it again. Yeah.
And we can drop one more effect in there real quickly. I've got a wonderful sound of a door slam here, which got a door slam. But because this is MIDI information and it's sending out different pitches for the different notes I play on the keyboard, we can drop that door slam down, make a wonderful kind of an explosion sound to put in there as well, which we're going to just add in. Okay, so if we turn our click track off, we've got basically the first little part of our music done. Now, we've been copying stuff back and forth. We copy the guitar part to make a bass part and whatnot. Well, we can copy several tracks at once if we want to as well. For example, if we wanted to have this whole section repeat now, we're just going to highlight this whole section of music and copy it, and we'll paste it later on here. So now, if I forwarded through
Sorry,
a little
I love
bit,
copy and
start somewhere in
pasting
the
music.
middle. Coming up here is where our original recording ended.
Okay. Now we can now take this and we can either build a long piece of music or we can start to build some small stings. Let's, we've just got a little bit of time left now.
Sure.
Why don't we try and create some stings? I do these little quick tips occasionally in the show. We've got it all planned out. Now we need just about 15 seconds or even shorter, like 5 to 6 seconds of things.
I'm so sad that I know we're never going to learn what's on that
Laserdisc
on the
swelling
wall.
cymbal sound that's followed by the orchestra hits and the door slam, which is like a little sting unto its own. If we listen to it from the beginning of the piece of music, we'll hear it come up here, and then it goes into the music. But if we wanted to just isolate that particular little sting, well, we know that it basically happens at bar 3 here, so we can get rid of the rest of the music by just cutting it. And if we zip ahead to bar 3, there's our sting.
And that's it.
That's all there is to it. And if we were working from a finished piece of music that was 3 or 4 minutes long, we could pull little sections out again. It's just like working with a word processor, or we copy particular words or paragraphs or what have you, put them to the clipboard and put them somewhere else.
Paul, this is fantastic. You know what I need to do now? Is I got to start playing because, you know, I got the music in me. I got the music in me. I got the music in me. I was thinking of doing something.
He's got the music in him. Let him play. Let him play.
The first significant electronic music was created on magnetic tape in Paris in 1948, and it was called Musique Concrète. Computer animation, as in video games and in all kinds of educational and edutainment software, is a huge growth industry. Interestingly, computer-generated art requires that artists learn a certain amount of mathematics and computer logic skills. At the same time, because computer art programs can do so many things so well, they also attract the more mathematically inclined in us to try our hand at creating artwork as well. Computer animation is now approaching the quality of traditional cell animation, the familiar Disney-class stuff we all know and love. But of course, the computer giving us a new set of tools with which to create our cartoons also creates a new set of rules. Now, we're going to play with animation now for a few moments. Our task is to try and start creating the entry animation for the whole show, the off the top of the series. And for that, I'm going to use a program called Macromedia Director. This is a very popular animation and simple authoring tool that comes to us from the Bay Area in San Francisco. To start with, when we open Macromedia Directors, we have a score. Now, the score in Macromedia Director works very similarly to a score in music. You see, we're trying to control time as well as space when we do animation. The most important element in animation is the timing. An animation occurs through a period of time. It's not just a static graphic. Otherwise, we could just use any paint program. So controlling time, creating an analogy to control time, Macromedia turned towards the music world by looking at a score, similar to a conductor's score for an orchestra. And that's what we have here, called the score. And in the score, we control all of the elements that we're going to create in the animation. Now, I've already imported this stunningly handsome visage of my face. We have one green and one blue eye. That's very, very good. It's kind of this new age look.
His new age look for Dotto.
First of all, is I'm going to duplicate my head because, just in case I mess up, and also because I want to do something special with it later, I'm just going to copy my head here. I'm going to create a new cast member, and I'm going to paste it. There we go. Now I'm ready to start working. So that I'm going to close down this little paint window. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you some of the basic ways in which we animate. Now I can import this head into the animation here, just like that. Now you notice a little notation appeared here in the score. What that does is it tells me that I actually have an actor or an element present and ready to work with. I'm just going to step through, and this is like a VCR controller here.
Welcome,
I'm just
Rachel.
Step into
Dotto
the
is
next frame,
teaching
and
us
you see that
about
there's another notation appearing in the next cell.
Macromedia
I'm just gonna
Director.
grab my face ever so carefully because I don't want to hurt myself, and move myself a little to the right, and you see a little arrow appears underneath it. I'm not sure if you can see that on your screens, but I'm going to do this a few more times, and each time I'm going to move my face a little bit to the right. By doing this, I'm actually creating a path for the animation to follow. Once I've done that, I can rewind, click on play, and see my head moving. There it goes. One more time. There it is. Saw it move. I've actually added more cells here, so that's why it disappeared. So I can play my head back and forth as many times as I want. Let's just get rid of this other stuff here. There we go. So now we can watch it one more time. And oh, wow, that works for me. I just love doing animation. You know, the best thing about this is my wife upstairs right now thinks I'm working. This is too much fun. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that whole thing and use a different form of animation. Now that would be very time consuming to try and animate an entire scene going cell by cell like that, although they do it in a similar way when they do true animation work. But what I want to do now is I want to tell my head to start out here. I want it to move down to this point here on the screen, maybe right down here in the very bottom. And so I'm going to say at frame 10, I would like you to be right here, head. So you see I've set a location for the first frame and a location for the next position. I'm going to go to frame 20 here.
I'm so excited to be
and
learning
tell it
about
that I want
keyframes.
it to be up here in the top corner. So I've set 3 key locations for the head to be
Key
in.
locations.
Now, just like an actor when he's learning a script of a play, they have all of the dialogue in it, but they tell him to move upstage right or downstage left. The director tells him to do that. He doesn't say, Steve, I'd like you to move your right foot, then your left foot, then your right foot again, then your left foot, in order to get upstage. I mean, I know how to get upstage if I'm an actor or if I'm anybody that can walk. So basically, the software will do the same thing for us by selecting all of the elements and asking it to fill in between for us. In other words, walk where I've told you. I hit rewind, and now we watch. Oh, there we go. There's my head zipping across the screen. That's about as much fun as we can have on this show, I think. I just love this. Okay, here we go. Next thing, I'm going to leave that in. I'm going to leave that in. Because you know what happens? When it hits the bottom here, when it hits the very bottom, I want to do something special, something kind of magic with my head here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this copy of my head that I made. There was a reason I made it. I'm going to grab it. Now I'm going to do something terribly technical. Now this is a technical term. Don't try this at home. I am going to, oops, if I can, try one more time. There it is. Squoosh my head. See how I'm squooshing it there? Kind of flattening it out. And I got to get rid of this one on the bottom that I accidentally created.
The term is called squash and stretch,
Steve.
bro.
Now, don't try this at home to yourself because you could hurt yourself. I've squooshed it. Now, I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to replace it.
Thank you,
my new
Martini,
squoosh
for
button.
the follow. I'm always glad
There
to
we
see
go.
the
So
extra
now if
tiger.
we wind it, it's going to look like it hits the bottom. Watch this. Boom. Ooh. You know, what I think I'd like to do next, though, is I want to add a sound effect for when my head strikes the bottom, and I think
A door
nice
slam.
thud
Use a
might
door
do, and
slam.
There happens to be some preset ones in here. Let's take a listen here. Let's have a listen. Maybe here we go. A nice thud. Ooh, I think that sounds like a head hitting the ground. Let's give it a try now. You gotta love it. Just gotta love it. See, using the computer, we now have tools to control the total screen environment, whether that's textual, such as information in word processing, numerical in spreadsheets, data which we're accessing through online services or via the networks, and now we're starting to see that we can also deal with sound and animation, all on our own desktop. Now let's see if I can do anything about my beard. I wonder how it looks with a red one. The best quality of video is 30 frames per second. That is 30 separate drawings for each 1 second of video.
Yeah, can't get better than 30 FPS, baby.
Special thanks today to Paul McCabe from Roland, Canada, for bringing the sound of digitized music to my basement. We keep finding more and more uses for the personal computer here on Dotto on Data, but there's one coming up in next week's show that surprises even me. Full-fledged, full motion, full action, real-time video. Soon, we may be making our own TV programs, right here. That's not a bad idea. See you next time. Hey, that's pretty good. Good. Oh, get him, get him, get him. Want me to order pizza?
They should have ordered the pizza. All right, next episode, Dotto on Data 7.
Hello, I'm Steve. Hey, over here. No, not under the desk, up here. Hey, yeah, that, in the computer, yeah. Hi,
Hey,
this is Steve
Dotto,
Dotto
get
from
out of
Dotto
the
on
computer.
Data. You may have noticed
out of
I'm
there.
not coming to you from my usual seat. Thanks to the miracle of digitized video, I've been trapped inside this computer monitor and told I can't come out until I introduce today's subject.
Yeah, I would.
genie
I
in
would
here.
never know about doing a show
Okay.
at home.
Here it is. Today's
Yeah,
subject.
Dotto has become Data.
Video
He's
and the computer.
achieved his goal in life.
There, I did it. Man, I love them special effects. What? Hey, I'm back in the monitor again. Oh, okay, I see. The tour has started. This here is the video control room. Hi, Dave. This is where the studio cameras feed my image to these monitors. Let's see, where to begin. Okay, I think I'll start over here. This is the teleprompter operator. Believe it or not, sometimes I can't memorize all my lines. So I write them down the night before, and they're electronically stored on a computer as data in the control room. And Gord here. Hi, Gord.
Hi, Steve.
Gord runs them for me. Next to Gord is the producer. I'm not quite sure what he does, but he sure gets mad if we go overtime, so we won't waste any time on him. Next to him is the assistant director. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Steve.
Diane works closely with the director and times all the segments and generally keeps the whole show running smoothly, looking after all of the details. Next to Diane is the director. Yo, Dave.
Yo, Steve.
Dave gets to tell everyone in the control room what to do,
Jeff.
even the producer, Jeff. Now, Jeff doesn't like that
I
much,
think
so he
we
waits until
both need
Dave
Danny
steps
the
outside the
producer,
control
but
room
I'm the one
where
on
he's
the
the boss.
on the stuff, so I'm
Now,
like
Dave, the director, tells
tech
Roger,
guy,
the technical
basically.
director, which camera he wants up on the master tape. The technical director has all sorts of magic computer-driven effects he can do. He can stretch me, float me around, rock me, twirl me, fly me around, and squeeze me down into almost nothing. Help me, help, help. Once the master tape is completed, the producer brings it to the offline editing room. These timecode numbers, hey, looks like I've been arrested. These timecode numbers help Tim, the editor, locate the exact place on the tape where edits need to be made. Sorry, I mean where edits need to be made. He notes down the exact times at which that glitch occurred, then rewinds the tape to that location and removes it. They help the producer locate the exact place on the tape where edits need to be made. That's better. Thanks, Tim. I didn't make a mistake that time. Sorry.
No problem, Steve.
You can fix it.
I love
Once
these
a rough
Canadians.
edit of
They're
the
so
show's
good.
been made, it's sent here to this really expensive room called the Online Editing Suite. Here, the producer and online editor, hi, Sandy,
Hi, Steve.
make all the final edits, add more special effects, and make the show look high class so it doesn't look like it's coming from somebody's basement. Again, most of this is all run from computers, treating me like so much Dotto, or data. That's okay, Tim can fix that one later as well. Boy, this is easy stuff. Finally, in really classy
more
shows
of
like
that.
this, the show's sent to the audio post suite, which is really like a big Macintosh computer. Here, all the audio is digitized, equalized, sanitized, and made to sound really great. This is where the music and sound effects are added. From here, it's put on a tape machine, and presto mandingo, it's what you're seeing now. So, if you're experiencing picture or audio difficulties, the problems are originating with your set. Instead of a graphic in your next school report, why not use an animation or a QuickTime movie? As you've seen, it takes quite a few people and a lot of equipment to put a television program together. Imagine if you could do it all by yourself on your personal computer. Well, you can. Almost. Video is perhaps the most significant data type of our generation. It is a medium with which we are totally comfortable. There is one serious limitation to video, however, in that it is a totally linear medium. See, we need to view it in the way it was produced, not in any sort of interactive or randomly accessed mode. That's because in order to play video back, we need a tape machine, which must mechanically move us around the tape. Now, we tend to value more interactive mediums for a lot of learning and entertainment applications. Now, the computer would seem like an ideal way to deliver video in a non-linear way. If we can digitize video and play it back from the computer, we'd have the best of both worlds. Video as a terrific communication type, and computer delivery, which allows us interactive access to the information when we want it and where we want it. However, there is one significant drawback to this scenario. Video in uncompressed digital form takes up massive amounts of storage space. 1 single second of video is actually composed of 30 graphic frames, not even including sound. You simply cannot store enough raw video on a hard disk to make it usable. That is until you begin to compress the data. See, compression shrinks the file size needed to store video. Today's computers have the horsepower to compress and decompress video, usually in a small window at a speed somewhat less than 30 frames per second. We face quite a challenge in using compression and decompression technology because of the nature of video. If we look at what the most important aspects of video are, we would quickly come to the conclusion that time is the most important single factor. You see, the video and audio must always play in sync, and 1 minute of video must always take 1 minute to play back. But what happens if we create a video clip on a very powerful computer system and then try and play it back on a system with half that power? Would 1 minute of video now take 2 minutes to play back? If so, that video is next to useless. The computer industry is offering several standards to combat this situation. Compression standards like Apple's QuickTime allow us to play back video on any system. The computer tells the video file how fast it can handle video, how many frames per second it can play back. The compression video file then drops out intermediate frames of video, always assuring that the sound and video are in sync. All of the audio is faithfully replayed, and 1 minute of video will take 1 minute to replay. Now, we have the tools to truly realize the potential of interactive video because we can use it on more computers in more situations. Video becomes a very usable and effective data type. We've looked at word processing, desktop publishing, spreadsheet, music, and animation software. Each edits a different data type. Now it's time to look at video editing software. And for that, we're going to use a program called Adobe Premiere.
Woo!
Now, Premiere basically replicates all of the functions that we saw earlier today when we were looking through the video control room. What we did earlier is I took some previously shot video of the show and I digitized it. I used a product called the Radius Video Vision, which is a digital video
Dotto
board
actually is still doing
for
stuff
the
now. You can look
Macintosh,
him up, and
which
he's,
took each of the video
Steve
clips that
Dotto
we
is
sent in
still
and
teaching.
compressed it and
Pretty cool.
stored it in QuickTime format. Remember, that's the digital video format that we were talking about earlier. And now what I've done is I've created a new file here in Adobe Premiere, and I've brought those files, those compressed files, in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start editing them. When we take a look at the screen that we're dealing with, we see two distinct areas. We see a project window, which has all of the raw video clips that we're going to deal with. In this particular case, I have 3 clips and some music. And then we have what's called a construction window. Now, the construction window is where we import all of the different video clips, the transitions, the music, and any special effects that we want to create. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take a look at one of these clips. Here's one that's 6 seconds long. I just double-click on it, and up it comes in a little preview window. Now, we are dealing with compressed video here, so we're not dealing with full screen, full motion. It's going to be smaller than full screen, and it's going to run at less than 30 frames per second. Because a computer, even one as powerful as the Quadra that I'm running on, cannot handle video at the high data rates that's needed to create full screen, full motion video. In order to do something like that, we need additional video cards to help support that process, and that's quite an expensive addition, not one that you'd expect to find in a basement such as mine. Anyways, let's take a quick look. I haven't imported any sound with this, just the video segment. So let's take a look and see what we have here. I'm just going to play this clip. It's 6 seconds long, and it has me looking like I'm being held up, sticking out my tongue, and there's Jay and Kia looking absolutely disgusted with me. Well, that's our first clip. Our second clip is somewhat longer, and it's of, again, the kids looking at me, and now I'm yammering away, I'm sure, about some tremendously interesting topic. I'm just going to drag this clip out into Adobe Premiere, into the construction window in Track A. Now there is 2 video tracks that I can deal with, Track A and Track B, because what we'll do is we'll switch back and forth from those 2 different tracks. Now remember when we spent some time in the control room that there was a switcher
I use Vegas to
that
edit,
the technical
and
director was controlling. He was at that point
I'm
switching
glad I'm
from
editing
one
now and
camera
not
to
back
another
then.
camera for different shots. Well, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm switching back and forth from one track to another track. It's the same metaphor. We can take a look at what is up here, and we can see each of the individual frames kind of laid out. I'm looking at 1 second
I've been
intervals.
meaning
So
to
there's,
check
you know,
out
about
DaVinci
15 or 20
Resolve. I'm
frames
just
per each
lazy.
second. I can look at it in much more detail by simply selecting, say, every 4 frames. Now the file takes up a lot more space, but we can see that we're looking at the same image for a lot longer time. So we can basically control it down to a single frame at a time. I'm going to keep working in 1 second intervals, though, and I'm going to take a look at this section and find the point where I come in, because I want to cut it at that point. So I'm going to play the preview window of it, and I'm just going to stop it as soon as I appear. There's where I appear. I'm going to back up a few frames until that point right there. There I am. Ooh, I look in pain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this as spot 1. Now, up here in the construction window, a little flag has appeared with a 1 on it telling me exactly where that edit happens. So I can take it and I can cut it at that point. I can use a razor blade here, actually, and I can even just physically cut the file and move it into 2 separate sections. I can undo that or redo it, but I'm going to get rid of it right there. And at this point here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a second clip of me talking here, and I'm going to drag it into track B. Now I'm going to leave about 2 seconds from when the kids first appear in track B, and I'm going to take a quick look at the start of that, and that's where I'm talking. Now we just did a straight cut from one to the other, but what I'm going to do is I am going to make it fade from one track to the other. See, here I've got all of these different special effects. Remember the different special effects and transitions that we were talking about in the switcher? I've got them all here too. I've got so many that we don't have enough time in the rest of the series to use them all. Look at this.
I agree they should use the pop print transition.
We've got pushes, we've got radial wipes, we've got sliding boxes, stretching, swirling, swinging, texturizing, Venetian blinds. We're not talking about just like Vancouver blinds, but Venetian blinds. We've got just about every type of transition you could possibly imagine. And, oh, let's use this iris star. That looks way cool. And we'll bring that one in. Where
This
I put
is
it
just
is I
making
put it
me
in the
wanna-
transition track
wanna use a bunch of
between
different
the 2 video
transitions.
clips, you see? And then I have it
In,
match up its edges. Now, if I double click on the transition, I can actually have it
in
start
OBS,
wherever I
'cause they
want
have
by
so many
positioning this little white
transitions.
dot. I can actually
think they have a
see
star
the
white.
2 video sources that we're going to deal with and show how it's going to cut from one to the other. I could even leave it in a certain position and inset video.
I just want
one
you to
inside
know
the
they
other.
don't
think
have. I
through
just checked. They do not have
through the
star
demonstrations
wipe
that we do
in
occasionally.
OBS.
We've inset video of me on the computer screen. That's the exact same process as I'm doing right here, right now.
Shame.
But let's say OK to this, and let's start it at 0, and say OK. Now what happens is I'm going to stretch this little yellow bar, which shows my preview area, out a little bit, and I'm going to hit the Enter key on the keyboard. What that does is it builds a preview of the video clip that I just created. Now it's not actually making a final copy of it, it's just showing me the preview
You made a star
of
transition for your
the
streams?
transition that I
Okay.
chose, because I might not
Okay,
like it. I might
good.
want to
Okay,
change it.
that's
We don't want
good.
to lose
I
any
need
of the
to-
information.
I didn't know you
So
could
that's
install
why they
your
only
own
do a preview.
transitions.
It's just
Oh,
about finished.
I
Here
need
it
to learn
comes.
to.
We'll see it up
Man,
on the
there's
screen.
a
Now,
lot
there
you can do
comes
here that I just straight
with
up
me
don't
coming
do.
out of the middle. Oh, wasn't that nice? That really worked for me quite well. Do you want to see it one more time? I do, because boy, I could watch this all day. Now you see how grainy and pixelated it is. That's for 2 reasons. One reason is we're dealing with digital video. You're just not going to get as good a quality out of digital video as you are out of analog video on tape. The other reason is we're trying to look at it in a slightly larger screen than it's designed for, so you can see it a little better at home, so we lose some information when we try and stretch those pixels out. That's working for me
Well,
so
that's
far. I think
cool.
we've got something
I
that's
gotta-
the basis of
I gotta make my own
fairly
transitions.
interesting thing. What's the next thing we need, though? We need some text in there. We need to do some titling over the top. And to do that, we're going to create a new title.
Nest Wyoming, thanks for
Now, this
gifting a
is
sub to
basically
Rachel.
like a
Thank you
graphics
so
program,
much.
except instead of dealing with just graphics and words, graphics and pictures, it'll also deal with text. Now, I'm going to type in the show title here, Dotto on Data. And I can position that wherever I want it. And I can choose what color the type is out front by double-clicking on this little color palette here. And here I can choose from anywhere in this palette the color I want. If we want the type to be a little bit green or yellow or a little bit on the orangey or red
GBFO.
side,
We
I
are
just
going
position this
through
little
Dotto on Data,
circle here
episode
and choose
7.
the color that I like. There we go. I think that color there is really good. You notice a little warning bar appears here. This is actually quite an intelligent program. It'll tell me colors that aren't going to reproduce well on video. and it gives me a little warning here telling me, hey, don't use that color if you're planning to go to videotape. This one's much better. So I say, okay. And so now the color of my type is that color. Underneath that is a little thing called a drop shadow. You see, you can't lay type over top of a video image without creating some sort of barrier or some sort of backing behind it to make it stand out, and that's called a drop shadow. And we can adjust where the drop shadow sits on the type just by clicking and dragging within this window. See, we can do all sorts of really wild things with it just by positioning it here. And we don't have to have a black shadow either. We can change that shadow and make it soft. Make it kind of a smudgy, soft, kind of just suggested shadow. Ooh, that looks like not very good. I think we'll go back to the solid. I personally like the solid shadow because it's solid. And I'm a solid sort of host, I figure. So here, we'll just position that
Dotto's
right there.
haircut.
And then we'll save this. And we'll save it as the Dotto title. And once I've saved it, I can drag it out into, oops, I grabbed the wrong thing there. Let's put it back where it goes. There we go. I'm going to drag it out here into the superimposed channel. Now the superimposed channel is where we, you'll never guess, superimpose things, where we actually lay one element down on top of another one. Now here I've got, you see the title appearing here in the superimpose track, and how long I want it to stay up, I just drag it out. I want it to come up just after or just before the transition, actually. Let's make it happen even before the transition, when the kids are on, and have it fade on. See this little band down beneath it? I'm going to click on that and have this title fade in. See, that's just like an audio track or something, having it just, the graphic fade in. Oh, I do have to do one thing here. I have to tell it to make it transparent. See, otherwise, the white background, which is behind the text, would show over top of the video, and then we would just have the white Dotto on data with no video showing through. So we have to make a white matte. And we can say OK to that. And now we can preview it again. Boy, I'm getting so excited, I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Here we go. Estimated time, less than 1 minute remaining. I know you're sitting on the edge of your seats at home, and that's the beauty of dealing with digital video. Excitement just is prevalent through the entire experience. Here we go. What it's doing is it's composing each individual layer at this point. We're really starting to deal with about the third generation, believe it or not, of digital video editing software. The very first generations, the very early programs wouldn't do very many transitions.
I like that it's rendering.
They
Thank you,
wouldn't
Esper
output
Wife, for
very
the
well to
follow.
videotape. They
Appreciate
couldn't do
it.
any support outside of the computer domain. This software here could actually be used in conjunction with a professional editing suite. We can create what's called an EDL, or edit decision list, from this software that can be actually used in a high-end online editing suite of the sort that we saw earlier today. Here we go. You ready? Sitting? Let's watch it. There it is. See the text. Dotto on data came in. It just sort of brings a tear to my eye. It's just,
Me when my render
I'm
doesn't
being
crash.
paid to do this. You can't do better than that. Okay. What's next? We've got some wonderful video stuff happening. We've got tremendous action occurring. Some nice type and text occurring in the window. You've got just about everything you want, except music. And I've chosen a little bit
add the
different
door
than
slam, bro.
You'll hear one theme song when the show goes to air, but I've chosen a little bit of a different theme song for this particular segment. Let's have a quick listen at the music I want to use here. Kind of makes you proud to deal with data, doesn't it? So let's get that into the piece. Now we have audio tracks down here in the bottom part. So I'm going to take this music and drag it into my audio track. And we see it appears here. Oops, let me just move. Oops, cancel that. There we go.
I like how there's 1,000 different windows open here. This would drive my brain insane. I would not be able to do this interface.
It's really not different in any substantial way to any of the other processors that we've dealt with. When we dealt with text processors or word processors, we could see the text that we were working with and we could edit it interactively. The same thing when we worked on spreadsheets. We could see the numbers, we could see the columns, we could work with it in a form where we could see what we were working with. this video type of editing is no different than any of the other digital editing we've done. I can see lined up, one on top of the other, all of the different elements that I'm working with, and I can work with them in a totally interactive way.
That's a good
I can
point. I
change
do need
this
to make a
transition
Dotto
now
alert.
from
I don't
where it
think I
is
have them in the
to another
system.
transition. Let's choose page peels are always really popular. Peel the page. I've got the music in. I'll have the music fade up here just a little bit at the beginning. I hit preview,
good.
and now we're going to see over again interactive video being built right before our eyes. Now, I should warn you not to try this at home because you could get hooked on computer data. Spend all your money on computers and software and develop real professional skills that will employ you when you graduate from school or get out in the world. It can be beneficial to your health. It's ready. Here we go. Are you ready? Are you psyched? Are you pumped? I know I am. Video
That's like
editing
when I
software.
first started using Windows Movie
When I started
Maker.
working with computers in 1984, 85, when I started initially dealing with desktop publishing situations, I honestly never believed that I'd be able to deal with video in a form that I'm dealing with today. But if I'd known then what I know today about how video, sound, all of these different mediums are just other forms of data, of this, no different really than the text and graphics that we dealt with in the early desktop publishing days, I would have seen the potential that we're dealing with today. And that's where we're moving on Dotto on Data.
Quick tip.
Look on your bulletin board for already created animations and movies.
Done and done, buddy. I'm always looking for free stock footage.
You've heard of teleconferencing. Well, how about video conferencing? That's where you not only talk to a group of people remotely, but see them as well. Think of the possibilities. Conventions, meetings, school.
We know all about this, bro. Got a little program you may have heard of called
here?
Zoom.
Clams? Crabs? Scallops? Is this a cooking class?
No, it's a biology class.
Biology? Ugh. Mr. Campbell! Oh! Are you teaching this class?
Dotto is Yinglet coded.
Step to the front of my class.
Exactly where are you right now as we're speaking?
I'm 500 miles away, Steve.
Oh. And how many of these classes are you teaching right now?
I teach half a dozen classes across the country.
Oh, well, you better get back to work then. Happy dissecting, guys.
Steve, you've interrupted my class once too often. Could you get down to the principal's office?
It's 500 miles. It would take me a week. Yeah, right. Go to the office. I'm 35 years old. The show's called Dotto on Data. It's called Campbell on Data. He can send me to the office. But until then...
Go to jail, Dotto.
Be sure you have the rights for any music or video that you use.
I do. I actually do. I check.
The kind of video conferencing we've been looking at is becoming increasingly popular in business and in education. A high-quality compressed video signal transmitted over telephone lines makes it all possible. But you know, with our advanced video compression technologies, video conferencing is now possible at home as well. Right at our home computer, we can communicate by video over telephone line and connect up on screen together. This is a sort of one-on-one, desktop-to-desktop video conferencing. Each computer has a little camera set up right here, by means of which we can talk face-to-face.
Hi, Steve. Steve, we can see you.
Hey, it's the kid. Hey, it's them.
Steve on television.
Made their appearance this episode.
I think. How about that? Looks like we're having a little totally impromptu, completely unrehearsed video conference.
This is great.
It's
we
called
can get
Discord,
together without
bro.
going out in the rain and waiting half an hour for a bus. All from the comfort of home. And the great thing is that if you say anything embarrassing or stupid, you can just walk out of the picture. Jay, come back here.
It's a very convenient way for us to get together. There's a slight delay, but it's almost as good as being there, isn't it?
Yeah, just make sure you never sit at the computer in your underwear, Steve.
Say goodbye, Jay.
Goodbye, Jay. Hi, Steve.
Bye. Video conferencing really is the next best thing to being there. And when you consider the tremendous benefits it holds for us in terms of reduced travel time, fuel savings, environmental impact, and a host of related expenses, it may, in many instances, be better than being there. Our ability to take video images and store, use, and manipulate them as digital information, as data, has brought the computer once again to the front and center as a tool with which we may continue to create exciting new ways of communicating and sharing visual information. There are so many possible applications. We may want to create our own animations, our own TV shows, our own virtual work groups, or virtual game landscapes. In the end, we may be limited only by our imaginations. But I don't want to get too far in the future, because that's next week's show. We'll be gazing into our digital crystal ball at what's just around the next bend in the ever-expanding data flow universe. That's next week on Dotto on Data. We'll see you then.
And that was episodes 6 and 7 of Dotto on Data. All we got left is one episode, if you can believe it. So what I'm thinking is we're going to save the rest of Interactive Entertainment 03 and the last episode of Dotto for another stream. It'll be a little bit of a shorter one, but we'll be doing that upcoming stream. I'm not sure which one. But my next stream, aside from my RetroPal stream that I'm doing with Sarduce, is going to be either next week or the week after. I've got to figure it out. And it's going to be a Doonesbury multimedia showcase. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a really, really cool one that I'm doing because I am Doonesbury pilled. I'm a Doonesbury cell. And I've played through all the multimedia and I've watched a lot of the ephemera. The Discord just sent you the notice? Oh, man, I'm sorry. Welcome. Nis, we're going to be doing a Doonesbury showcase for my next stream, so look forward to that. Yes, flip it. We will see Rap Master Ronnie. We will see Rap Master Ronnie. It's going to be a lot. So look forward to that for my next stream. It'll be either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, just depends. And I'll see you then. Let's find someone to raid. Thank you all so much, too, for your subs, for your follows. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support. Now, who are we going to raid? We are going to raid... Boreal, it's been a while. They are doing Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Let's follow them. Start the raid. And yeah, good luck to our Boreella. Thank you all so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And please have a good day. See ya.